Okay, so today is Saturday the 17th, I think. Yeah, 17th, Saturday. Usually I go out to, like, or a lot of times anyways, Hollywood and Santa Monica. Tonight I'm probably going to go out more towards LA. I don't know. I'm kind of sick of the same old routine. Although they spaz out, as you can probably tell on my website, with tons of people going ballistic for yet another one of my crimes, going to, well, anywhere, but in that case, Hollywood and Santa Monica, making people hunt me down and create mental illness to end my existence with their color pattern tactics or my conversation mimic tactics. Example, I might go out there and it's fairly normal, and then within 30 minutes, if you kind of stay in the same area, I'll notice like tons of people come out with either solid black pants and solid yellow shirts, all in huge numbers, or solid black pants, solid red shirts, or one of their tactics is, example, you go out there and nobody really has any hoods on, and then maybe 30 minutes later, down on Colorado Street, which then progresses all over on 4th and 2nd and everywhere else, you'll notice tons of people with hoods up, right, all told to do it at the same exact time through their internet-based notification systems like SMS and email and websites, all which people are linked into, whether they're told to sign up or go to it, and it just notifies them wherever I am and what to do to make me mentally ill, to kill me based on these government extermination systems. Anyways, I couldn't help to notice I'm looking at the little LCD with this big old bright light, and it kind of looks like I have like maybe an angel or something sitting next to me. The people that are trying to make me look crazy with the devil and angel jokes will get it, I guess, which is probably 75% of the planet. Anyways, so tonight, oh, hold on a sec. It's a weekend. I need a little tobacco. The anti-tobacco people might spaz out because they had a problem with me smoking cigarettes, which nobody could care less normally who wants to poison their lungs or not. The good thing about cigars is you don't inhale them, so it's just more of a taste and a little buzz. Anyways, so sorry I had to move for a car. Tonight is a Partaga. I think it's a 1945, it says. But this is probably, I can't afford too many cigars because they're expensive and I don't make much. But this is probably one of my favorites, my new favorites. I still do, smoke a lot of Kirchhoffs. And ironically, if anyone's seen The Truman Show, Kirchhoff, the main controller of Truman, which I live on Burbank Boulevard on a property my father found for me, which is most likely some of their movie references to try to turn me into a schizo. Truman Burbank, if you get it, right? Now people walk around calling me man over and over like 100 times a day, but obviously the reason I like Kirchhoff cigars, it has nothing to do with the movie The Truman Show, but that's probably not what the world's told due to these propaganda systems. And like usual, sorry, Windows. like usual, the only reason the world would be told something like that is for control purposes, to sabotage me from smoking cigarettes, just like my family was doing when I started smoking cigarettes. They kind of drove me to the point where I said I need to smoke some cigarettes, and you can't smoke cigarettes with random people harassing me every time I smoke a cigarette with that negative reinforcement. And if anyone knows anything about negative reinforcement, it's extremely abusive. It's like, you smoke a cigarette, so I'm going to stop you from smoking cigarettes by punching you in the face, so now you're going to smoke more cigarettes, and then they punch you in the face again, and then you smoke more cigarettes. The story of my life, you could say. Which is how my life got to be like this. And on a side, fun note, I love Bico lighters, or Zippo lighters, because, that's funny, I said Bico. Zippo lighters because, you know, I used to have a old, like maybe 10 years ago, actually I found it recently, it's an old Zippo lighter with an ace on it, and, of course, the people at, the employees at Coffee Bean with their mass groups basically used it against me, that because I have a Zippo lighter with an ace on it, I'm playing games with people's lives, then I need to be hunted and killed, back to the old game tactic, which I was mentioning, I think, last video or the segment before, how the whole concept of games and Kevin and the movie Tron, like putting me on this real world game grid to torture and kill me to make me think I'm in a movie type thing. But anyways, the point I'm getting, and you probably, any normal sane person's asking, well, how does someone go from someone who has a simple Zippo lighter to, with an ace on it, to he's somehow making us hunt him down and kill him because there's an ace on the lighter, right? Okay, so to finish this fun side note and get back to the serious conversation, I find it ironic that the reason, sorry, fire trucks, the reason that, so I find it ironic that, like, okay, Bic lighters are great because they're consistent and always work and they last forever. A Zippo lighter is kind of like an old classic Chevy or something, hot rod or something, because the damn thing always needs to be refilled, the fluid's always leaking out of it, but they got a certain nostalgia and class to them, and when you use them, it feels good, right? And so, well, this is totally irrelevant to anything I'm going to talk about tonight. You get to hear at least some of Kevin Perlman's personality, that he rarely gets to talk like a human being because, and I'm now speaking in third person, which is probably pretty bad, is because I'm generally consumed with these mass worldwide attacks to try to discredit me, make me look crazy, try to turn me into some perfect robot or whatever, for the sole purpose to torture me to death and kill me. But anyways, so there, you get a little tidbit of normality, and now I'm going to go into what is important, and that is talking about what the conversation I started yesterday. I started in yesterday with kissing the black girl in 8th grade and the ramifications of what happens to me in my life for harmless things that nobody could care about, from a family, the psychology community with their continual analysis, and it's your behavior because a Jewish white boy kissed the black girl, and we're going to put a stop to this interracial there's a big dip on this street, and there's a whole bunch of high school drama, I guess you could say, about my car being sparked on that thing, which I just hit at 30 miles per hour and bottomed out, ironically. But that's for the 16-year-old conversations in high school and me building cars. But that is some of the information that, while you just saw me scrape the bottom of my car at 30 miles per hour on that bump, there is a whole high school drama. I don't want to say high school drama, I want to say that is information that was given to a person named Eric Christianson, who was either told to follow me to Southern Oregon State College or notified by the government and my family to hunt me and stalk me with that information, saying that I'm a reckless, out-of-control driver, killing people and all this. Well, you just actually witnessed on camera me basically sparking the bottom of my car on a huge dip in the middle of the intersection at 30 miles per hour, driving probably slower than everyone else, just in a low sports car. Okay, so anyways, and Eric Christian was told to hunt me in Southern Oregon State College, just trying to rid me of the world with the government. And so anyways, I was talking about my family and kissing this black girl, and that being the end-all be-all of crimes, as if people don't do that. And that was in 1980 to 84 or something. Yeah, right, way past Martin Luther King, right? I can assure you that there's probably a good 40% interracial marriages, and there's probably 80% interracial sex life with people screwing around before getting married in the United States. And I can assure you that Kevin Perlman kissing a black girl, and as people try to brainwash me saying dipping and you don't dip and this and that, is just a scam, a brainwashing tactic to make me think I deserve this kind of retribution for doing absolutely nothing wrong, because they want to cover up their mass crimes and control. Okay, so I talked about kissing this black girl in my last segment, and that the ramifications of what happens to me for things that nobody cares about, because it's not about me doing anything wrong. It's about leverage over Kevin Perlman's life and a Jewish family not wanting Kevin to accept other races, cultures, and wants them to dictate who I marry, who I talk to, on every minute macroscopic level or microscopic level known to man. And if I don't obey, I'm pretty much tortured and killed with worldwide support. And how do they do that? Well, they go around making up lies. Well, because he kissed a black girl, we're going to tell the world that he's a white supremacist, and then bam, that stops him from mixing with other races and cultures, because they're running around saying I'm like Adolf Hitler, when really they're like Adolf Hitler, and therefore poisoning the well and launching worldwide murder operations, which ironically are supported by the government of the United States. Every police officer, you name it, all across the world, every cyber division, NSA, FBI, you name it, all on their side. And that's where you really start to ask the real questions, because normally if a family does that, they're not generally supported by the United States government. So remember, they all have psychology degrees. This might be difficult to smoke this and talk. They all have psychology degrees, and the entire psychology community is working with them to keep this covered up and create these psychological warfare tactics. So, really, it's hard to say if it's about a family that just wants to control, or it's really a government kill operation, because why would the government support something like that? I've never heard of anything like that, where a mother with a psychology degree somehow contacts every psychologist on the planet, says, I'm down and help kill my son because this or that, whatever. I'm not on the inside of those operations, so I can't really talk from the standpoint of that factual knowledge. I can just kind of see what's going on from the standpoint of being hunted from one person sequentially after the next worldwide. Sorry, you're going to have to bear with me, but the cigar's important. Okay, so what you just saw there, actually, in my family's eyes, would have been considered reckless driving, the inability to focus, and my family working with people like Officer Sean Dinsey, who has Discovery saying Kevin Perlman has driving problems and focus issues, if any one of these drivers on the road here saw the simplest thing like my wheel touch one of these white change lane lines, the world would be notified that I'm a reckless driver, need to be watched on their neighborhood watch list, and removed from society, or told I'm not allowed to drive vehicles and never allowed to leave my house. Okay? And that actually has been done to me since 16 years old, and I can assure you it has nothing to do with my driving, especially going out, building cars and going out to Los Angeles County Raceway and Palmdale and things like that. I can assure you my driving is not the problem. I've driven stick shifts for 30 years. I can probably tell you that in this day and age, 90% of the people out here drive automatics, and probably most of them don't even know how to drive a stick shift, and driving is not the issue. It is the family, police, government, NSA, FBI, with their worldwide propaganda, terror operations, to just figure out how to eradicate me. But so I hope that gives you an idea of the amount of ratcheting being done to me, to just keep cranking down tighter and tighter to try to break me, and then say he's a crazy man and snapped, and we need to remove him from society. Now, back to what I was talking about, the black girl, and that situation I explained in the last segment. Tonight's topic is, which is what I was leading into yesterday, or the last video, which ended up being 4 hours, was my brother and the steak knife incident, which my family, police, and government are using against me. The incident, which is just like me driving over that dip in the road, which I would be claimed a reckless driver, which 99% of the cars scrape on. The same is going to be applied to the steak knife incident, which my brother's basically like a little crying baby to cover up his bullying and thugging. Except where things don't make sense is that bullying, thugging older brothers is not uncommon, and it's probably a 70% thing. The problem is that normally what happens is you grow up, you have a bullying, thugging brother, you get older, you move on, you don't care because it was never that big of a deal to begin with, and then because you're all both older and more mature, you get along just as I was doing with my brother. So for example, these things happened, I didn't really look back, I didn't care much about them, they didn't really faze me, and then I turned 29 with Mike Huntley, originally my brother's friend, trying to keep me quiet about something, so much so that it involves killing me and or locking me away in jail cells or mental institutions, hence something non-kosher going on, obviously back then, that they don't want me picking up on. So in other words, it is perfectly normal for people to look back on their lives now and then and just look at their life. That was perfectly normal. Obviously, if you stay in the past, then you might suffer from obsession or can't move on with your life or whatever. But it is not uncommon for people to remember aspects of growing up. Now, what happens if you're surrounded by people from your past, or people contacted by them to pose as your friends, and the moment you start looking back at your past, they go irate and want to control that information in your brain by torturing you, killing you, trying to divert you with horrible events, things like that. You generally have to question those motives. So the question is, why were people like Mike Huntley sent into my life to sort of hover over me, being my jailers, saying, you don't speak about your past? And even more so, I'm not allowed to go to any psychologist, psychiatrist, anyone in the psychology community worldwide and simply pay them a couple $100 or whatever and talk about my life. Why? Okay? That is like saying a mechanic isn't going to fix your car because it breaks down a lot, or because it's broken, and you just need to go get a new car because it's unhealthy for him to fix your car. Shirking him making money and making profit, which no automotive repair guy would ever do unless there was something shady or he had ill intent or whatever, right? Well, the same goes for the psychology community. There's no reason. I've talked to thousands of psychologists, therapists, psychiatrists, all contacted by the police, LAPD. The government said, don't let this guy talk about his life, and we're going to give him one option, and that's to take medication and be a zombie and not use his brain. So think about that, right? There's serious motive behind the people in the psychology community not wanting me to talk about my life, my childhood, growing up, and those whys is what everyone on this planet who thinks about Kevin Perlman should really be asking. Not why is Kevin Perlman being hunted by the government, but why is the government hunting Kevin Perlman and they refuse to tell him what it's even about. And it starts at 5 years old, and it's on the magnitude of, at 5 years old, I built an atomic bomb and blew up 100,000 people in a stadium, and I need to be hunted and killed with worldwide support, is the question that people need to be asking, and not, oh, well, if there's a worldwide campaign to kill you, there must be some reason, and Kevin, you tell us why we're hunting you down to kill you. As if I could tell someone why they're following me around with worldwide murder operations. That doesn't make any sense. Just like a security guard the other day telling me that I'm making them and every other security company follow me and stalk me and end my life, or try to rid me of the world with the police, NSA, FBI, and worldwide support. Well, I don't see how anyone can make anyone do anything unless it involves the types of things that are being done to me, or maybe if I tie someone down to a chair and slice on them with a knife or something, yeah, then I'm gonna make them defend themselves. But if I'm met with random stranger after random stranger worldwide that I've never even seen before, trying to lock me away or rid me of the world, I can assure you I'm not making them do a damn thing, unless their argument is that I'm somehow inserting seeds in their brain to make them hunt me and kill me or something stupid like that, right? Doesn't make any sense. So the things these people are saying to me are just coming from pure stupidity, but trust me, they're not stupid. And any 10-year-old with common sense can see through what's going on. And as I mentioned before, the whole stupidity thing comes from Tom Farley in some movie that I just watched from my childhood, telling everyone that I think everyone in the world is stupid. And then Tom Farley coming up to me saying, Kevin, you told me that people are stupid. And I said, no, I didn't. I never said that. And he said, yes, you did. Well, even if I did say that, it still wouldn't matter. There still normally would not be a worldwide campaign to exterminate me, saying he thinks he's better than us. Right? Doesn't make any sense. Okay. So I know I get sidetracked a lot, but it's for very good reasons. It's so you can understand the dynamics of a situation that is unheard of and way out of the norm. And what the people need to understand is the dynamics of all the people in my life surrounding me and what they're doing. Because for me just to say, oh, my brother did this and that, yada, 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 the response will be, so what, who cares, that was 30 years ago, and no big deal, you're stuck on it, you're obsessed. Which is the point. The entire reasoning behind my family and government's operations with the psychology community is to try to make me look like I'm crazy and keep obsessively looping and suffer from obsession, suffer from paranoia, suffer from every mental illness known to man to justify he's a danger to himself or others and we need to remove him from society. That's why it's so important to be able to explain these things coming at me from all directions. So my brother and the steak knife. When I was young, let me try to figure out an age on this. It was so long ago. It's got to be around 6th to 8th grade or something like that. And I told you the Christy Reynolds things my mother and brother were involved in. So my brother, he used to be a thugging, bullying kid. And that's not uncommon, like I said. And they weren't the worst bullying things either. He would hold me underwater for as long as possible, but he wouldn't drown me, just trying to be a kind of thuggy brother in the swimming pool. He and his friends would go out at night and they'd find all the frogs around the swimming pool and throw them up as high as they can and watch them splat on the ground. Okay, stupid kid crap, whatever. I'm not going to say he's a frog abuser or anything stupid like that. Some of the things he did to me, he would flick me in the ear from behind over and over, like, endlessly. And the reason being is when someone follows you from place to place, flicking you in the ear from behind, it's really annoying, and he wants that explosive reaction, right? He's not coming at you head on. Just like the passive-aggressive terror attacks with worldwide support. What else? I think sometimes he'd hit me in the back of the head, but it wasn't that hard. What else? I don't know, the stupid crap. He'd pin you down and shove his ass in your face or whatever. The Lego ships, I think for a while we had some kind of little Lego territorial dispute with Legos or something. Like, I would build something and he would break it, and then he would build something, and then I think at one point he built something and like crazy glued all the Legos together. I mean, that's stupid crap. That's not even really abusive. Whatever. Let me think. There was the bigger ones was when he made the movie Psychos with Darren Moselle. Darren holds a knife up to my throat. Let's make him the 5th member of the Bee Gees, but that still to me wasn't that abusive. So none of these things I'm talking about were that abusive. Oh, there's a time where you know, when I was 14 and he was 16, he would go out and do all their road rage shit, and he put on a license plate frame. I swerve and hit people at random. They would put baseball bats and crowbars in their trunks, and I don't know what they would go do. They'd go on what they called their runs, and remember the segment before where Tom Farley would go, supposedly didn't like Eric Johnson, so he would do his Grunion runs, remember, runs as well, where he egg mobbed Eric Johnson and hit him in the back of the head, pinning all these things on me. Well, there's a certain pattern of behavior from Tom Farley going out on his runs, doing his bullying runs, and my brother doing his car road rage shit runs, and pinning it out on me. And these runs, quote unquote, all start at me around 14 to 16, starting to lift weights and going out running and jogging. So if you want to understand the psychology behind what they're doing to try to turn me into a violent paranoid schizo, is I go out and jog and run to be healthy and lift weights, listening to music like Damn Yankees and Dawkins and Guns N' Roses, and they get mad at all these things. Why would you get mad at that? Well, that doesn't even make any sense. So they go out on their runs to send me hidden messages that Kevin's going out jogging now, they're going on these runs to provoke and get people to go after them, right? Okay, doesn't make any sense, except to turn Kevin into a violent paranoid schizo and turn everyone in the world against Kevin, me. So, hold on. Sorry, more horrific, reckless driving than I could have killed 100 million people. Okay, so you get the idea of their paranoid schizo tactics. These aren't pranks. These aren't jokes. These aren't, Kevin, we did this to you and we're joking around with a conclusion or closure. These are, we're going to keep endlessly trying to flip you out until you're dead and gone. Okay, so at one point in our Hidden Hills house, my brother was doing his, I'm going to keep flicking Kevin in the back of the ear, keep flicking Kevin in the back of the ear, keep flicking Kevin in the back of the ear, keep flicking Kevin in the back of the ear, keep flicking Kevin in the back of the ear, which the psychology community today will say, just ignore it. Yeah, well, that's stupid to just ignore it. And so I can remember being in Hidden Hills on our second floor. I was holding a steak knife, probably after eating or something. Jason comes up, my brother comes up, and he flicks me in the back of the ear. And I just get sick of it, because the first thing you need to understand about bullies is there's really no talking to them, right? What am I going to do? Well, let's go out to dinner and have a long conversation about you flicking me in the ear, especially when I'm like, who knows, 11 years old or something. So I turn around and I do that fake throw where you pretend to throw a dog bone, but you let go and it falls to the ground, you know, like I don't have anything here, but you go like this and you go open your hand and it just falls straight to the ground, right? And I do one of those. And after that, Jason runs around. Even though there's never any knife flying through the air, Jason runs around saying, Kevin tried to kill me. Kevin tried to kill me. Blah, blah, blah. Right? Okay, well, I mean, once again, like everything else, Mr. Tough Guy Bully that tries to run people off the road in his cars and cruises around with Scott Kirkpatrick with slingshots launching pachinko balls out their car window at other cars or whatever they were doing. How does Mr. Tough Guy here go from I'm going to keep trying to get these reactions and then you tried to kill me, right? What is his reasoning? And remember that you tried to kill me here doesn't just stop at that moment. It's not a moment in his mind of anger, right? He's not just saying it out of, oh my God, you tried to kill me. It's you tried to kill me and now I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to remove you from society. Totally ignoring his actions, his behaviors. Because one word I've heard over and over for the last 17 years with the police and government trying to lock me away is you blinked wrong, you farted wrong, you rested your foot on a chair, you yawned, and You moan during sex, so it's your behavior. You're an out-of-control monster, and we have billions of government dollars with worldwide support to exterminate you. But what is the behavior of a bully that keeps provoking someone until they have to get some kind of harmless, insignificant reaction, like dropping a steak knife to the ground? Now, my family with the police are going to try to use that, and have tried to use that with their NSA level collected and data mined information to take that out of context and use it as this guy is running around with knives trying to kill people, right? And that's the part nothing makes sense. And that is consistent with every aspect of what they're doing to every detail of my life. One of these segments I mentioned biting the kid's hand in elementary school, but that bite was like a soft gum. And of course, they leave it all out, trying to make me look like the Splice in Jupiter Ascending who just randomly tore out someone's throat with their mouth, right? So how does something like this go to that? How does something like this heart with a sword through it on a lighter go to Kevin's trying to stab women's hearts, rip their hearts out and try to stab them in the heart, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? All the things they're saying aren't just dramatized. They're strategic information dissemination to rile the world against me on perfectly normal events that happens in every family, relationship, people together with one another, all the time, being collected and disseminated and used against me in such a way to rile the world against me, saying, that guy's crazy, and when he snaps, people are dead. Some of the things said about me are like, I'm like the Incredible Hulk, and when I get angry, people are in trouble, this or that. Well, the only thing I've seen is me in danger. And while Kevin, the calmest, coolest, collected guy out there, literally it takes 100,000 to 1 million people per day for 17 years now, which is actually 40 years, escalating for 40 years, to try to get this horrific Adolf Hitler-y reaction or the Vegas shooter reaction. They have been unsuccessful with the amount of inflicted torture and pain most normal people can't stay alive over, but yet somehow I'm the person with the problem. Do you understand what I'm saying? Well, that doesn't make any sense. That makes absolute no sense. Example, someone who suffers from anger and rage doesn't need to be provoked, especially 100,000 times a day, right? If you suffer from anger and rage, you're just going to go out and kill people, right? Like one of the neighbors yesterday, the day before, trying to make me think I'm like him, telling me when he's mad he just punches people, right? Well, if I actually suffered from this anger and rage, wouldn't I like punch like 100,000 people now without anyone trying to provoke me? So the point is that when you keep provoking someone over and over, that has nothing to do with anger and rage. That's a reaction to a setup. Now, the police have even arrested me, falsifying all sorts of charges. One guy that attacked me, and he assault and battered me, and they left out the entire situation saying I punched the guy. The other one is a security guard that attacked me, tried to punch me 7 times in the head, which I called the cops, and they pretended it didn't happen, and later on tried to use it in court against me. And then we have the Terrence Scroggins contacted by Sean Dinsey, with court records even stating that he was contacted by Sean Dinsey and off Sean Dinsey's Facebook, told to stalk me and set me up. Okay, so while they actually threw me in Pitch's Wayside in maximum security, the hole for like 8 days, locked away with a lot of the toughest people out there, and all of them being contacted to take turns on me, told that gang stalking is somehow about gang members, to try to thug and intimidate me quiet, having past jail cells working on me. You get the idea that none of this is about anything I've ever done wrong. Okay, so some of the questions from these people trying to turn this around on me have said, well, Kevin, why didn't you go to the police? Well, the first answer to that question is, you can't go to the police. What are you going to tell them? Hey, my brother's flicking me in the ear. Then you look crazy, right? Second of all, you find out at 29 what's going on. But you don't even know what's going on. You turn 29, you find out there's a worldwide campaign to remove you from society for reasons you can't comprehend, and to this day, 17 years later, not one person has come up with a dialogue talking about my life and what I supposedly did, that there's a worldwide campaign to exterminate me, and they keep pretending they don't know me, asking me why this would happen, because they want me to give them something that justifies their stalking operations. If that makes sense. I'm going to hunt you down and kill you with worldwide support, and I'm going to say, well, what did you do? And then you, as a person, are going to, and keep in mind this was all thought out by the psychology community, you as a person are going to go through your life and try to figure out why there's a worldwide campaign to kill you, and at the moment you rattle off something stupid to these stalkers, they're going to go, see, I told you so, we're justified in killing you, right? Doesn't make any sense, because there is no justification. It doesn't even matter if I went out and killed someone, not that I would, but, and they sent Rody Morales after me to get that confession, with the LAPD taking me to strip clubs and then trying to scare me into those confessions. But even if I did kill someone, it's illegal for people to get together and hunt me down and kill me, means that they're vigilantes and murderers. I'm not saying I justify murder, but what I am saying is there's a reason we have judicial system, laws, and constitutions, and hence why things happen a certain way, and why we moved from Britain or England to here so that we could have these constitutional rights and protections. On that note, this is also for a completely different segment. One of the things my mother accused me of at 14, which she just jumps from lie to lie in her fantasy world or something, is her asking me if I hit a kid named Josh Burnham in the head with a crowbar somewhere between 14 and 16. Some kid I have no relation to, was never friends with, was in a grade below me, and she just asked it, and she backtracked after I asked her what was going on around 29, while Tim Thompson was swinging a golf club, pretending he had a golf club in his hand and swinging it, while they had Rody Morales take me to strip clubs, hence using the name Rody Morales to hint that I've supposedly killed someone with my car, on the road, hinting about the golf club thing, trying to scare me into these coerced false confessions. And I think I was even on the phone with my, well, maybe that was a different, I'm not sure, but right around that same time period, probably days, I was on the phone with my mother, who in Canada, who was telling me, which she originally lived in Hidden Hills, California, was telling me that my past had caught up with me, and hinting that I better leave the country, trying to get me to make it look like I was on the run, so that people would think I'm on the run. When I specifically asked her what this was about, which was a while later because I was too in shock from what I was seeing with worldwide support, and freaked out, that she refused to tell me, just like my father, speaking in vagaries, right? Your past caught up with you, but I'm not going to tell you what you did. Or my father, you know what you did, and then telling me that when people do something, they're not told what they did. Well, that's the biggest load of horse shit I've ever heard. People who commit crimes aren't told what crime they committed, even when there's a worldwide campaign to kill them over it. Yeah, okay. Now remember, these people have psychology degrees, so they're digging for information and they want coerced false confessions. Now, someone might say that they're just concerned and they want to see if I suffered from some kind of trauma, right? I might buy that for the short term, and once again, I gotta keep lighting this. This is a pain in the ass while trying to talk to you. So, the short term, maybe there's some concern. The short term. But now I've witnessed this for 17 years with worldwide never-ending attacks, 100,000 people to 1 million people per day, and I find out this starts at 5 years old with the psychology community, right? Now, let me give you an analogy. If I tie you down to a chair for the next 40 years, and I keep slicing on you with a knife, or I keep following you from place to place, bashing your skull in with a crowbar every day for 40 years, and I keep saying, tell me, tell me, tell me, tell me. Don't you think that after 40 years, the average person would probably just tell them what they wanted to hear? Right? Well, I have not yet done that. By inflicting endless severe pain on someone till someone gets the answer they want is a self-fulfilling prophecy, meaning that that person eventually is just going to tell that person something that isn't true in hopes they stop trying to kill them, right? So that would be the definition of torture, and that is why the U.S.'s policy is we don't torture people, especially terrorists, even though I'm obviously not a terrorist, because you're not going to get a truthful answer, right? So now you have to question, if someone's being tortured for 40 years and people keep trying to get an answer from them, what is their motive? Well, their motive obviously isn't to get a truthful answer. Their motive is to get a cover-up answer. Oh, well, you know, I spoke with Kevin and he said he did this, so therefore we were right, right? But it took us 40 years of hunting him down, trying to torture and kill him with billions of government dollars and worldwide support, right? Doesn't make any sense. So, what is, by common sense, and any 10-year-old with common sense can tell you, what is their reasoning? Their reasoning is, in order to cover up what they've done to my life, they need that coerced false confession to say, look world, see, we told you so. That is why. Now, let me go back to my brother and the steak knife. So now you understand what my brother is doing. But think about the resources involved with the government and psychology community. So now, this harmless event, which nothing really happened, I'm not running around saying my brother tried to kill me or anything. He's saying I tried to kill him. So what is the reasoning that they never want me talking about this? I mean, who's going to care, right? I meet a girl, I start dating a girl, we get serious, she asks me about my childhood, and I start mentioning some harmless bullying from my brother that nobody cares about. And her response would generally be, you don't say anything or we all get together and kill you. Why would that be? Well, because something freaky in the situation is going on to begin with, and that freakiness has to do with my brother, my parents, telling my brother to do these things. Okay? So normally, so that's the information. They don't want me digging around through my life and finding out that these weren't normal situations, that these were, like everything else in my life, manipulated situations for intentional reactions, aka setups or frame jobs, right? We're going to try to provoke you endlessly to get reactions to use against you. That is what they are trying to cover up. Okay, so now you have to ask some serious questions. You have a kid, he's trying to live his life, but people in the psychology community and government are told to keep trying to set the kid up so they can put him in mental institutions or juvenile hall and things like this. Why? What's the reasoning? That kid hasn't done anything wrong. He's a really good kid. Why do you want to put him in juvenile hall or mental institutions? Okay, well, the answer is simple. They want labels. They want to put labels. He's crazy. He's violent. He's a violent, paranoid schizo. The same labels my family threw on me at 5 years old. Well, let me tell you, you can't put a paranoid schizo label on a 5-year-old. The 5-year-old isn't even developed yet or doesn't even know who he is, right? Doesn't make any sense. But what we have is people with psychology degrees labeling me, the government stepping in and trying to control me by making me look like I'm dangerous or violent, and this way they can spend my entire existence following me around, controlling me, right? Who you date, what your sex life is, who you talk to, the types of people you talk to, whether they're Jewish, whether they're not Jewish. Maybe the government doesn't want me dating anyone and having relationships and family because they just want that control. These are questions I cannot answer because I'm in the dark, but what I can tell you is these labels are being put on me for control reasons, and then the more I find out, the more they want me dead and gone because they don't want me talking. And more importantly, this is the crime of all crimes. With the United States government, police, psychology community, NSA, FBI, and every other organization involved to do these things to a human being which hasn't done anything wrong. Well, doesn't the Constitution of the United States say that you're a free man until you go out and commit a crime, and that the punishment must, how is it worded? The punishment must be, whatever, the punishment must be equal to the crime, right? So, if you steal a 1-cent Jolly Rancher at 10 years old, that does not give the right for the government to put you in the electric chair and kill you. The punishment must fit the crime. So what's the crime? Well, they have no crime. But what's the punishment? Well, the punishment is a government crime larger than one of the largest crime known to man against one person in humanity, and because it's worldwide supported all day and night, endless terror, torture, worldwide network terror cells, all designed by the government to torture and kill me for the crime of an empty label, right? Okay, so that, even though it's the opposite of something like mass genocide, it's still actually bigger, because one man must take the hits, take the daily hits of worldwide support and trying to kill him all day and night until he's dead and gone, which I've now witnessed for 17 years, from 100,000 to 1 million attacks per day, and it's been escalating since 5 years old. So if that is not the crime of all crime, with immense, unimaginable pain inflicted on someone in the most inhumane way, which is equivalent to locking someone in a cage for 40 years and shoving a cattle prod up their ass every 5 minutes, is the end-all be-all of demented crimes. And remember, we're talking about a father that puts shock collars on his dog Rhoda from lack of communication skills, and puts Maggie, his English sheepdog in the Hidden Hills, in a cage for half its life, just for reasons because he doesn't want the dog running around the huge backyard it could have been running around the whole time, right? You get the idea. These aren't sane parents. And they have psychology degrees to make it worse. Now, one of the questions I've been asked, has my family ever physically abused me? No, absolutely not. My father never hit me. He never burned my face on stoves or anything like this. The traditional form of abuse, it lasts an hour or healing time. We are talking about things that are very passive-aggressive or covert. Things that you can't really go to the police over, right? Hey, you know, my family's controlling and they have people following me around with passive-aggressive terror tactics, and the police are just going to say, well, don't talk to your family. But when I go to the police, showing the police, and I've been to police stations all across California with proof of these mass attacks, the police lie to my face, saying that it's not a crime for people to get together and mentally abuse you to death until you're dead and things like that because they haven't physically touched you, lying to my face. While I have videos of some police officers coming forward on like Fox News stating that gang stalking is real and mass groups do get together and torture and try to kill people without physically touching them. And if you want to debate killing people debate the argument about killing people without touching them, well, putting poison in someone's drink or food is a way of killing someone without physically touching them, and the police would basically tell me that that's okay because they didn't physically touch you. But the definition of murder, attempted murder, or crimes isn't whether someone physically touches you. It is based on things like damages, harm, and premeditation. Example, a group of people say we want to kill Kevin Perlman without physically touching them, and they get a large group to conspire together to, this is just one of these thousands of tactics, whistle 40 times per day at him wherever he goes until he flips out and his nervous system gives out and he dies, or something bad happens to him where he goes to jail for life or gets locked in mental institutions. Well, that is a crime in the law books by the definition of a criminal act. The act, you wanna harm someone, maim someone, or kill someone, and you premeditatedly thought out beforehand how to do it. You follow the guy around in mass groups, provoking him to death until something bad happens, fits the definition in the law books of attempted murder or murder. Okay? So, for the police to say that mass groups following someone around whistling at them 40 to 100 times a day for 15 years, or the foot tapping one started with Aubrey Fisher. For 6 years, people who saw me tapping because Aubrey Fisher didn't want me, got mad that I tapped my foot by her. Or the new one started about 6 months ago, people honking their alarm horns at me worldwide 2 or 3 times over and over. At one point, I even have recordings in a Starbucks in Jamba lot on Victory and Canoga for about an hour. There's probably about 500 people who honked their alarm 2 or 3 times at me within 1 hour's time. This happens every day of my life. Wherever I go, I was gonna burp. Wherever I go worldwide, and that is the end-all be-all of crimes, whether the police want to admit it or not. Now, the question is, why would the police not help me, right? Well, that's simple. The police, by the police's admission that this is going on, and someone going to jail over it, would open up all sorts of doors within the psychology community and the government to their horrific, unfathomable crimes against one man, violating constitutional rights on every level known to man. It goes right up probably to the White House of the United States of America, which I've been in front of with policeabuse.com, and simply going in front of the White House with the tourists in the tourist section for 15 minutes. I have White House security following me all throughout the city in an obvious way, being counter-surveillanced, showing that people at the top are heavily involved in this, with the psychology community. Okay? Now, that with me having recordings of the LAPD in the Van Nuys area and Woodland Hills, police scanner recordings labeling possible people with mental illness and putting them on watch lists and following them, says that anyone should need to know that you should be scared that whether it be some cop that doesn't like you, some cop that wants to cover up one of their crimes, or is just a trigger-happy nut-job cop in a uniform, is going to say that person suffers from mental illness and their fate is going to be like mine. Hence the types of things that Edward Snowden came forward about, who will have a family, they'll have a kid, they'll have their own company, and bam, the next moment he's hunted by worldwide support saying he's crazy and can't be trusted, violating his constitutional rights, freedoms, and most importantly, hunted, tortured, and killed. Then starve him in the streets to make him look like he just went crazy, like they're doing to me. Meaning that no one is safe, and you are not safe. And while all these people are running around focused on removing Kevin Perlman from society, they're being used as tools to commit insane crimes against people, not based on any types of laws being broken, which still is not citizens' jobs, which opens all sorts of questions of what's going on in these new pseudo-mass neighborhood watch groups with internet technology. They're not watch groups, they are murder operations. The people just don't know it, but they're involved in it, in attempted murder. Okay, so anyways, back to the steak knife. If you haven't figured it out, the steak knife, the bite, the farting wrong, the blinking wrong, aren't any things that someone's flagged over. They're using it. They're using these things in such a way as an information war to take them out of context, create worldwide propaganda channels with the internet in secret, also known as these neighborhood watch groups, and then leverage people against me or other people, if that makes sense. So they're dramatizing and taking situations out of context which are harmless and normal, and turning them into mass crimes or possible mass crimes, to fearmonger the people to help them commit crimes in the name of the government, of the U.S. government. Okay, so so the steak knife. So you've heard this harmless, insignificant steak knife situation. Hold on, need my smoke. Okay, so I lost my train of thought. Okay, so you've heard about this harmless situation which nobody could really care about, and it's something that, whatever, it's some little situation. I scared my brother, he got mad, he acted like a little girl, he couldn't get away with his bullying, but obviously he was interlinked into something much bigger and told to do it to try to get these reactions, which is why they're so defensive. I never thought anything about it. I grew up, I loved my brother, I thought he was the greatest brother, didn't realize it was going on, would still hang out with him. He would call me to visit him in Florida after I went off to college and he got married. Had no problem seeing him. Would call me when he lived in Indiana. I had no problem seeing him. Where else did he live? He lived in Texas. He lived in Texas. I had no problem seeing him. Thought he was a really good person. Didn't hold anything against him. So I'm gonna now skip. Keep in mind that's about 12 years old. I'm not sure, 10, 12, something like this. Now I go off. I graduate from high school. I go off to Southern Oregon State College, where they have a girl named Kelly Hatch follow me up to Southern Oregon State College, named Kelly Hatch, who went to Calabasas High, trying to play like all the other women in my entire life that I was talking about earlier. The cry wolf tactic. I'm stalking her, I won't leave her alone, I'm abusing her, I'm doing all these things to her. She's working with the police and government. She wants me to watch the movie The Bad Seed to hint that I'm like the kid in The Bad Seed who has killed people and all this. Of course, I'm not picking up on all these suggestive hints to try to flip me out. And I'm not going to go deep into Kelly Hatch right now. That's for later conversations later on, which are extremely long. And one of the people sent after me was a person named Eric Christianson. And this is all going to link back to the knife. Now, Eric Christianson, the scam they used with Eric Christianson was at one point, this was my first year in Ashland, Oregon, Southern Oregon State College, and I was walking around the Ashland town, and I walked into a t-shirt shop, and I found a shirt it said Lord's Gym, and on it was, I actually rebought one a couple of years ago to prove a point, but at the Christian.com store, keep that in mind, on it was Jesus Christ bench pressing a cross, which his hands are, pinned on, and on the back of the shirt it says, "His pain, your gain." Now, after this, right after, like immediately after I bought this shirt, and keep in mind this tactic has been done to me my entire life, I buy this shirt, and then two people befriend me from the Diamond Dorm, which I'd never seen before. One named Sherry Christianson, and the other one's name was Eric Christianson, right? That's pretty coincidental, right? You got two people, whoa, we got road construction, hold on. We got two people, Eric Christianson, Sherry Christianson, told to befriend Kevin Perlman in Emerald Hall, the dorm adjacent to Diamond Hall, because Kevin Perlman bought a shirt that says Lord's Gym, his pain, your gain, pitching the card that Kevin Perlman is friends with these people and he's fucking with them. He doesn't like Christians and he's fucking with them. That is their argument to the entire planet, right? Now keep in mind, this has been done to me my entire life. Example, me joking around on IRC in 1997 with people saying, "Why is the sky blue?" A girl named Skylar was told to befriend me, telling the world that I'm belittling her and doing things to her and trying to skull fuck her while delivering messages that her and the police and government are going to skull fuck me to death and kill me, right? Of course, I wasn't picking up on the death threats because I was off living my life like a normal person, thinking that it's safe to leave my house without people hunting me down, trying to kill me with full government and police support. And I'm not going to talk about the incidences with these people working with the police and the police showing up, pulling me over, just like Kelly Hatch trying to scare me into false confessions and things like this. That's for later. So this is how Eric Christianson and Sherry Christianson came into my life, wanting me to read books like Robert Heinlein's Job, hinting about me working at my father's company at 16, where my father made up lies that I stole $10,000 from him because he didn't want me building engines for my car or building hot rods, right? Because my family's claim is that Kevin's out of control and we need to stop him before Kevin ever does anything out of control, right? Pre-crime. Okay, and that is very important. You need to understand that whole concept of pre-crime or profiling, that I don't trust you, I think you might commit a crime, therefore horrific things are done to you. Well, once again, the Constitution of the United States states you are a free man until you commit a crime, and the crime is so bad that they need to incarcerate you or put you in jail, right? Hence, me being hunted for no reason with billions of government dollars. I'm now down in Los Angeles area, and when I come home, there will probably be tons of cars with dealer plates or covers over their plates in front of my house that says Los Angeles and things like this to try to punish me for going out and living my life in such a way that makes me look like I'm going crazy, or I have guilt for doing it. Anyway, so now I want to jump back to Eric Christianson. I become friends with Eric Christianson, who's supposedly from Alaska, who went to Southern Oregon State College, and while I really liked Eric, it's hard for me to believe that this guy was told to hunt me down and exterminate me with worldwide support. The entire city of Ashland, Oregon and everyone else is pretty disturbing to me. Now, so I must have been friends with Eric for several years. He was sleeping with women that I liked, but I wasn't really picking up on his behaviors because, they were kind of coincidental. Like, there was a really hot girl in his dorm. He found out I liked her. He slept with her. He told me. And I figured, well, in college, it's pretty much a fuck fest anyways. So, wait, we got some homeless guy walking in the middle of the street on a green light and yelling at cars. Okay, so, and by the way, this homeless guy right there that's walking in the middle of the street in a green light and yelling at cars isn't being hunted like I am for doing nothing wrong. To put things in perspective, it's a fuck fest in college. Everyone's sleeping with everyone. So Eric's sleeping with the girls I like, but I'm not picking up on his behaviors because I'm just figuring it's a coincidence, right? I'm not paying attention to the intricate things of gang stalking to turn someone make them look like a violent paranoid schizo and things like this, like him and Sherry told to befriend me. Sherry's doing whatever it takes to try to get me to like her, and instantly when I show Sherry that I like her, she instantly dates some guy, Chuck and his friend. I don't remember Chuck's friend's name that she starts dating, showing that she's trying to passive aggressively provoke me into anger, which doesn't work once you start to see the repetitious pattern of behavior. Hey, why don't you like me? Why don't you like me? Why don't you like me? I do, and let's go out. I didn't know you liked me. Let's go out. No, I'm dating this guy. Right? Now, why was she doing that? Well, back then, I just thought it was some flaky girl, but she was doing it to try to get that Hulk in Kevin, or the bad seed, which Kelly Hatch was working with the government to try to expose this evil murdering side of me, which doesn't exist, right? But once again, you have to question, how do these people have that information, okay? First of all, the internet didn't exist back in 1992 when this was happening. So and even if it did, it would be very strange that these people know these intricate things. But how does Kelly Hatch, which, sure, she went to Calabasas, but how would she know my childhood at 12 years old at my house? And how would Kelly Hatch, Eric Christianson, Sherry Christianson know anything but Kevin Perlman is some kid in college trying to get a degree, and we're all becoming friends, right? Okay, so these are big holes in their arguments that Kevin's crazy, that they don't want coming to light. They don't want me exposing the dynamics of these interpersonal communications where people are befriending me and given all sorts of information about me from my childhood that isn't even true, which, by the way, is worldwide on these propaganda systems built around me now, starting in 1994, to just on a daily basis make up newer and newer lies about Kevin Perlman. So, obviously, government operations. Okay, so Eric Christianson wants to do a road trip, and he wants to go to San Diego. By the way, the Mike Wexler I mentioned, working with Lynn Junkin and my brother, and those, the pedophile, or trying to set me up frame me for statutory rape and make it look like I'm macking on 16-year-olds, also wanted to do a road trip to San Diego to work on me with some more of their tactics. Why San Diego? Well, I cannot tell you what the relevance of hunting me down and taking me to San Diego and working with the San Diego police has to do with the tea in China, except they're just working on another angle, probably saying I committed some crime down in San Diego, right? Or maybe it has to do with a kid named Diego Sestita and his sister, which I thought was cute, Marina Sestita or something, which nothing ever happened any way, shape, or form. Anyways, hold on. Okay, and possibly they took something out of some movie about San Diego trying to flip me out and make me look like a violent paranoid schizo. I can't tell you. But what I can tell you is the San Diego PD has definitely been riled against me for some reason since a young child. It is very strange. But keep in mind, this happens at every place I go worldwide. It doesn't matter if it's San Diego or the Bahamas or anywhere else. The police there will work with mass groups to try to set me up, frame me, and remove me from society. Okay, so Eric Christianson is dating some girl named Jen, and Jen lives in San Diego. Now, it is not a coincidence that Eric Christianson is dating a girl named Jen, the same name as Jen Hess, who was sent after me on IRC from Torrance, California, who claims I hit her with a mask on, coming over my house the next day with no bruises on her or anything, which I've now watched for 17 years. People running around saying I'm a woman beater, all based off that 1996. And keep in mind, Jen Hess came after me around 2000 or 1999, but all coming after me with Tom Farley saying I'm a woman beater because of the Jim Johnson's art project in his art class with Mike Tyson fighting an Asian character katana on a harmless 30-minute composite piece of crap artwork, which they're saying I'm a violent paranoid schizo who thinks that I think I'm black at that point, and I'm a woman beater, and Mike Tyson is an extension of me, and my artwork are confessions that I'm going to hit an Asian woman. Okay? So they sent Jen Hess after me in around 1999, making up the lies that I hit her with a mask on, and the cops are running around saying that I battered Jen Hess and also need to be hunted with worldwide support, which doesn't make any sense because, yeah, there are woman beaters out there, and they're not being hunted with NSA, FBI, and billions of dollars, if you get my drift. So, Jen, Eric Christianson's girlfriend in San Diego back in 1992, are the same tactics. This is like a defective cigar. I've never had to light a cigar this many times. So Jen, they're strategically working on the skull fucking, so to speak, by saying I have a girlfriend named Jen, and obviously these are government operations. These are FBI, NSA operations. He wants me to go on a road trip with him from Oregon to San Diego, and we do, because I think he's a good person, to see his girlfriend Jen, which link into all these accusations that I supposedly did something to Jen Yang, which my brother eventually went after my friend Gregoire with the crowbar, trying to bash Gregoire's skull in with a crowbar because Jen broke up with my brother after my brother had a long-distance relationship with her at college, then telling me that he and his friends are going to put me in a mental institution because I didn't help spy on Greg and I stopped my brother from jumping in the way from bashing Gregoire's skull in with a crowbar, right? Hence, the link between Jen, Eric Christianson was dating, or possibly dating, because he just it was like my brother was a long distance relationship by San Diego PD. And of course, he wanted me to meet a girl named Kat, right? And Kat, I'm guessing, I'm not sure on this one, but I'm guessing that the reason they chose the name Kat, short for whatever, Catherine, who knows, was because of Melody, the stripper Mike Huntley, my brother's original friend, introduced me to Melody, who worked at the Candy Cat, which I believe Mike Huntley was probably telling them that I had cut her brake lines and tried to kill her, or it's just another skull fuck of theirs, who knows, but whatever's going on is going on, whether he's accusing me of it or not. Their end result is to try to create mental illness, flip me out, and remove me from society. And I have pretty much confessions from the San Diego PD stating that mass groups can get together and rid people of the world if they don't touch them, things like that. So we go down to San Diego. I meet Kat, we go to the beach one day, him, Jen, me and Kat. We come back to Kat's place, and what they do, this is where things get obvious. What they do is they have Kat, who I guess is supposed to be like my alter ego in my mother's "you can't see yourself" bullshit, to try to justify doing these things to me and saying that because I can't see myself. Remember, she has a psychology degree and she goes through all my artwork. She's also an art therapist who goes through all my artwork, using all my harmless artwork against me, trying to say that my artwork is confessions of possible crimes and who I am, right? Just insane shit like this. And everyone's buying these insane lies with the psychology community. And I also mentioned in my last segment, or a couple of them, the tree, right? At a very young age. She didn't get the tree she wanted. Okay, so we get back, we go to the beach, we get back to their place, they want to reenact the knife scene, right? To why? Well, to flip me out, to get that coerced false confession. Or, even worse, make me walk around saying these people are doing these things to me, and then them saying you're crazy, right? So we go back, we get to their place, they get in a little playful argument. Kat throws a steak knife at Eric, right? First of all, Kat didn't do a fake throw where the knife fell to the ground. Kat actually threw the knife at Eric, although she probably threw it to miss. And I see a girl throwing a knife at my friend. So I take the steak knife and I put it in my duffel bag. Because why? I don't want some girl throwing steak knives, right? So I get the knife away from her. Okay, so I put the steak knife in my duffel bag away from her so she can't throw the knife at Eric. Now, we go about the weekend or whatever. I can't remember much because the weekend wasn't that great, and I don't think I was there very long with Eric. I think it might have been a day just for them to reenact that. And we leave. I take my duffel bag, not realizing that the steak knife is in my duffel bag. Right? Now, first of all, like everything else, This isn't the type of thing anyone could give a rat's ass about unless you're being hunted and stalked by the NSA, FBI, to rid you of the world, trying to get whatever they can to use against you to exterminate you. Right? This is not something that anyone could care less about on all aspects. Whether Kat was just some weirdo chick throwing steak knives or whatever, they're not the types of things. First of all, if I went to the police with that, they go, whatever, don't be around the girl throwing steak knives. But second of all, these are... Okay, camera, stop recording, gotta restart it. Okay, I go back to Oregon with Eric, we drive back. I don't realize the steak knife's in my duffel bag. Not that anyone could remotely care less, normally, if something freaky isn't going on. And, a short period later, my father wants to go on a trip somewhere with him, maybe skiing or something. And so I pack my duffel bag, and we go on this trip, and I go through TSA, and the little buzzer goes off, and TSA says, oh, you can't take this on the plane. You gotta either mail it back or throw it away or do whatever, and I throw it away. Of course, my father says nothing like usual, but at this point, with his calculating abusive behavior, just sort of collecting it with the police and government to use against me. Kevin has a steak knife. And it turns out the reason they were so mad about the steak knife, because like usual, TSA tells people 100 times a day, you can't take your cigarette lighter on the plane, you can't take your nail clippers on the plane, you can't take the steak knife on the plane, whatever, and nobody could care less. But my father, with the police and government, go apeshit ballistic on defensive, which I have no clue is even going on, and probably put these puzzle pieces together maybe around 38 years old. Way after finding out that Mike Huntley told me that I'm pretty much a dead man with the police and government, and they were going to kill me. His wording wasn't that way. His wording was about control, but there's no such thing as controlling people by making them mentally ill, right? There's no such thing. There is, I'm going to make you mentally ill and rid you of the world or not, and maybe their justification is control, but that is a crime. There's no such thing. I'm going to control you. That's like me saying, you're reckless, and so I'm going to control you by shoving a cattle prod up your ass every 5 minutes, and so it's justified because you're careless and reckless and out of control, is what you call attempted murder, and there's no such thing as we're going to control you by shoving cattle prods up your ass or shocking you to death until you're dead, right? There's no such thing. There's attempted murder, or there's leave you alone. Okay, so, and if you feel that that person is such a bad person, you don't talk to him. Mike Huntley and my family thought I was such a horrible monster that Mike Huntley befriended me for 25 years, hunting me down to kill me, and ironically them saying, well, because Kevin Perlman's middle name is Michael, Mike Huntley is really Kevin, and you can't see yourself, and this is who you are, working their schizo tactics. But the bottom line is that if Mike Huntley didn't like me that much, he never should have talked to me or been my friend, showing a stalking murderer sent after me to have me killed. If someone doesn't trust someone, then they stay away from them. It's that simple. And that goes for my family or Mike Huntley or whatever. Right? So, that's the steak knife, I think. Almost all of the steak knife. Now, throughout this whole thing growing up, there's a thing with my father and steaks There's the thing with my father taking me to Ruth Chris over and over while they give me steak knives, obviously, to eat food, trying to make it look like, trying to get reactions, telling people at restaurants, employees at restaurants and mass groups coming in with these mental illness tactics to constantly provoke me, obviously, while I'm eating steak with a steak knife, so that he could try to set me up to hurt him, or try to hurt him, obviously working with the police to set me up with steak knives, right? Why is he doing it? Well, he's doing it because they found out, because they thought I had the evidence from Kat of the steak knife. Like, you understand? They're hunting me down, they're stalking me, they're trying to set me up, they're trying to get coerced false confessions. Kevin Perlman takes the steak knife and puts it in his bag. Now Kevin Perlman has the evidence of the crimes against Kevin Perlman. So now Ron Perlman, with the police and government, are even more on the defensive that Kevin Perlman has the steak knife with fingerprints of the setup operations with Kat and Eric Christianson from San Diego, and Eric sent after me in Southern Oregon State College to try to set me up, frame me, or just exterminate me, no matter what it takes. Hence, why my father had been going apeshit, or I should say, progressively going apeshit, the more he thought I knew, and the police. Now, once again, why don't you go to the police? Well, even if I did know what was going on at 29, what would I tell the police? This huge, elaborate story going back 40 years on the intricate details of this and that, and even though the police, every time I'd been into the police department with hard drives full of data of these mass attacks against me, kept belittling me and threatening me in their little cryptic ways that I better not talk, letting me know that not only are they not going to help me, but they know what's going on, right? So, well, the fallacy is that Kevin Perlman is a vigilante and isn't going to the police. You can go to my website under police refusing to help, especially with the more drastic things that the police can investigate, and every single thing for the last 17 years, no matter how obvious, like 3 flat tires in 1 month on different cars, tire slashings, top slashings, with hundreds of connected police reports like that, they refuse to investigate, which is blatantly obvious. If someone has like 100 police reports of person after person attacking them and damaging their cars and death threats all on video, and the police say, oh, I don't know you, and they keep playing this game trying to isolate each thing and not connecting them, which is a detective's job, is to intentionally connect the dots, then you know that they're in on it. So either way, that fallacy doesn't hold water, and that quote is not from the movie My Cousin Vinny. It doesn't hold water in respect to their actions and their behaviors on helping me. They are involved in the crimes and they refuse to stop the crimes, and the more I find out, the more they come after me, because if the shit hits the fan, it incriminates a lot of people in LAPD and other police departments, connecting all sorts of things like police investigations across multiple jurisdictions, government operations, information being disseminated illegally in such ways to hunt someone down, and the most important, the damages to my life and the ramifications of what they've done to my life, which they need to cover up and make it look like I'm a violent paranoid schizo. Hence, starting in 2013, when I started getting things on videos and photos, them ramping up their attacks from covert mental illness attacks to physical attacks, physical mobbings, verbal death threats, you name it, and all sorts of illegal arrests to tarnish my name, to try to get records in the police computers that I am a crazy person, 5150, violent, paranoid, schizo, to stop anyone from ever helping me. But if you look at the court transcripts, the things the lawyer did, the court reporter purchasing the adjoining property to my house, my townhouse, you can see that these are all illegal operations, which I have endless proof of, showing that the police are just hunting me down for extermination, and the more I find out, the more they want me dead and gone, so the truth doesn't come out. I spoke a lot in the last hour and a half. Let me pause this because there are more related facts to this, connecting situations and related facts, but I'm drawing a blank, and I've unloaded a lot of information, so let me gather those thoughts, and I'll be back in a few. Okay. Oh, wait, gotta fix my light. There we go, I think that's better. Okay, so I collected a very relevant thought so that people can understand the nature of these extermination operations. But also, let me just explain the well, this will be an off. Okay, whatever. I just pulled over. I had to take a tinkle. Whatever. You like that word, tinkle? That is inappropriate behavior in my family's world of you're not allowed to tell jokes, but or have a sense of humor. But I just pulled over to a random restaurant. Let's see, I haven't even looked at the name of the restaurant, so let me see what restaurant this is before I fully take off. Okay. The name... Oh, I'm not here yet. And what I'm going to explain to you right now is this happens at every place in the world I go. Wait, is it behind me? I think it's the other way. Uh-oh. Whatever. I pulled off to a random restaurant. I'm downtown LA. Nobody should know me. I'm Mr. Nobody. I'm some crazy paranoid schizo. I'm a crazy paranoid schizo who's imagining things. And okay, so I spilled a little Jamba Juice on my seat that fell aside because wait. Oh, I think we're still recording, but my phone disconnected. Here we go. Okay, we're still recording. So I spilled a little Jamba on my seat, and I stopped off at a restaurant to take a tinkle or whatever, and almost the entire lot, cars were parked forward like normal, except for one or two. And this is all obviously being recorded on my front DVR. I'm in the restaurant for a total of 10 minutes. Everything is fairly normal, but the car's parked backwards. You could say maybe they're just people randomly park cars backwards, but as I explained before, after I parked my car backward once at Encino Starbucks, and the police found out that I have video footage of these mass attacks to have me killed, which they damn well know is going on. Like I said, they ramped up their attacks, and so saying with death threats from a police officer that called himself Officer Toro, if you ever take a picture of a person, I will exercise the law in my own way. Well, it's not illegal to take a picture of a person, like I explained before. Also, that was Mike Wexler, who in Colorado was sent after me with Lynn Junkin, working with my brother, family, police, government, on those setup operations. Also wanted to go to a road trip to San Diego, telling me we're going to go on a road trip, but you're not allowed to take pictures of people, even though I really didn't care much about taking pictures of people. Hence, trying to threaten me about something that he doesn't want me talking about with my family and brother. And they really got mad at me, just to put things in perspective, for getting into studio photography, doing green screen photography in studio and taking pictures of people, showing you that while they're claiming, they're making up lame excuses like you're harassing people with your camera and this and that, showing you that while sending Aubrey Fisher after me to destroy a possible career in photography, studio photography, that their lies are inconsistent, and that they're coming after me no matter what I do, whether I get into photography or not. And me having proof of their crimes pisses them off a million times more, because obviously if you launch worldwide murder operations to kill someone, you don't want them having the proof of it, right? Okay, so I'm down in LA. I had to take a piss. I pulled over and get something to clean up some Jama crap off my seat, and in there for a total of 10 minutes, take a piss. I parked next to a car that is parked backwards, which people can try to debate whether it's directed at me or not, but I guarantee you that 85% of the cars parked backwards, at least in the United States, but most likely world, are all directed at me, Kevin Perlman, to try to collapse my brain with covert psychological warfare and mental illness tactics, like the majority of the world already knows, but they don't want to admit because they actually believe the secret lies, smears, propaganda, to fearmonger the world against me and have me killed. One of the tactics which I was explaining earlier was Santa Monica, solid black pants, solid yellow shirt, which then changed to blue jeans and yellow shirts based on a photo shoot I did with a girl, and blue and yellow blocks flying off the wall. Hence, my family, the police, government coming after me for more harmless artwork. That this studio shoot, you can't come up with anything. While they use the black girl on the chessboard as I hate black women, and playing games with their lives, this one with the blocks, there is nothing you can even conceive of. You can't even twist and contort anything from this picture, because it's like squeezing champagne from an onion, right, or champagne from a rock, right? It's just, in order to do that, it's just, there's nothing you can link to anything based on fiction or anything, but they're still trying to use it as a mental illness weapon, if that makes sense, right? They're trying to hint, because you did this photo shoot, people are stalking you with these color patterns. Hence, Officer Toro, if you ever take a picture of a person, I will exercise the law in my own way. By the way, the reason he named himself Officer Toro and walked up to me freely, giving me his name, without me asking for a badge number or anything, which cops don't do, was linking back to a kid in Southern Oregon State College named Javier, who dated a girl named Dawn, and he joked around, walking around saying, if you mess with the bull, you get the horns. Well, why was he saying that? I can't exactly tell you, and I think it links back to my family, my father buying us the bull whips, and hinting that I hate black people based on kissing the black girl, right? So now you understand the dynamics of their mental illness campaign, or skull fucking to have me killed based on what I know. The restaurant is called Ripple French Dip Sandwiches, right? Philippe French Dip Sandwiches. Okay, and there's one of the guys waiting for me in his car. So I walk in for 10 minutes. One car's parked backwards that I park by. I go into the bathroom. A guy also parks his car on the street, walks into the bathroom a couple minutes after me, and he's wearing blue jeans and a yellow shirt. Now that may be coincidence, but the two cars that parked backwards next to mine, next to the third one parked backwards, was not a coincidence. And the reason they parked backwards is they saw my car, and so they said, Kevin's here, and we're going to park backwards with this guy parked backwards to skull fuck him, make him mentally ill for his crimes of finding out that there's a worldwide campaign to kill him. Yeah, I've had several conversations, even with some Persian a couple hours ago, saying that, well, if the government's hunting you down, then you must have done something. Well, nobody generally thinks like that. I mean, that is like someone who has been given a mathematic template in life and believes anything he's told, right? Like me saying, all police officers are good people because they wear police uniforms, right? You have to be really stupid, and I can guarantee you that these people that saw me and did this aren't that stupid. And most likely the guy wearing yellow and blue, who after I pulled over, he instantly pulled over and followed me into the bathroom, and leaving, I saw another guy walking down the block at the next corner, is also wearing the same thing with a hood on. Well, they could be coincidences that just keep happening. Most likely it's because they're tracking my GPS on my phone like they were doing in the past. And I even have police scanner recordings of them saying, track that guy's cell phone, which is beyond any level of illegal and unconstitutional. You can only track people's cell phones and things like that. With warrants, you can't track people's cell phone because you don't like them, and more importantly, you can't track their cell phone for the sole purpose to have worldwide groups hunt them down, make them mentally ill, and kill them. And normally, if the government found out that was happening, they would put a stop to the person that is the ringleader of trying to have Kevin Perlman and me killed, right? Okay, so between that and all the conversations I have with the police and them showing their anger and rage towards me and accusations that it's somehow my personal vendetta against the police because I document me being hunted and killed also doesn't make any sense. But that is now how the LAPD is trying to twist and cover up their murder operations. Okay, so, but what does that tell you? It tells you that wherever I go, people are going to act out in rage and take turns on me with mental illness tactics, and the ones that aren't following me see me worldwide take turns to try to provoke me to death and kill me. And then I met with the groups that are tracking, GPS tracking, while I go from city to city, and cities are notified this is where Kevin is. There's also another level of communication going on, and that is, example, someone sees me, they will text where I am, people will instantly show up, being notified through SMS that this is where Kevin is, hunt him down and kill him with these mental illness tactics. Okay, and remember, this is worldwide. So if I go to Mexico, it will happen. If I go to Sweden, it will happen. If I go to Washington, D.C., Las Vegas, whatever, it will instantly happen every single time, showing that there's a mass cover-up in having me killed and the things that I know. Now, I'm going to go back. Oh, hold on. Okay, so obviously you can derive that wherever I go, mass groups wherever I am are notified to hunt me down, stalk me, and kill me with these mental illness murder operations. And nowhere does the Constitution say that if we don't like someone, we can all get together, hunt them down and kill them with worldwide support, and make up whatever lie we want to justify killing the person, right? Because what that means is anyone can make up any lie they want about anyone. Because as far as Kevin Perlman goes, there is no judicial system. He's born, and everyone hunt him down and kill him. And that's it. There's no reasoning. Except the psychology community stating that we don't like him. That's it. And I've had such psychologists like Christina Vescovo hint to me, basically saying she knows a paranoid schizo and they're not allowed to leave their house. Well, there's no such thing. There's no such thing with people with mental illness not allowed to leave their house. There is, you committed a crime and you're under a house arrest and you have an anklet, but there's no such thing as, I'm going to label you as this, you're not allowed to leave your house because I'm a psychologist, right? Now, Christina Vescovo is like some cheeseball quack therapist who took a few psychology classes, isn't even a full-fledged psychologist. She's just a therapist and wants to feel special, right? But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if there's some psychiatrist with an MD. People are generally protected through the Constitution from thugging tyrant murderers that think they're special, like my family, and can hunt down and kill people, especially molesting 5-year-olds like they did to me mentally. Okay, so back on topic. A couple nights ago, I stopped off at Jerry's Deli to get some food. It was probably about 12 a.m. in Encino. Instantly, of course, like usual, the chef starts whistling at me. Come 29 years old, when I found out something was very wrong, and Mike Huntley was starting to figure out that I was smart enough to realize something beyond any level of fucked up was being done to my life, the first thing that came out of his mouth was, "You're okay," like we're checking you out to see if you're sane and stable, which is illegal by destroying my life like that. After that, he switched from "you're okay" to "we're going to kill you," the more I started to find things out. And what I was noticing at 29 was all the things around me and the angry, bitter people enraged at me. And the first thing, I was noticing strippers say, "You'll get yours." I was noticing how, like, if I went to the DMV I've never been to in Simi Valley, they had angry looks and the way they talked that I never picked up on because I'm not a famous actor. Does that make sense? I'm not some $50 million a year actor. That's in the movies, so I didn't expect to be known worldwide. Hence, their reasoning. The whole concept of gang stalking is to do things that aren't normal to make you look crazy. And then if you tell someone you look crazy, hence why people like Fernanda Simi with my father in his entire office spent 14 years, and Fernanda wanting me to keep saying going to the police, but there was nothing direct, right? Like no one pulled out a hatchet trying to hatchet me in the skull. The reason Fernanda Simi, who was heavily involved in trying to steal my property or flip me out with all these property tactics and having people in the Latin community move next door to me, stalking me, and my homeowners association having people punch holes in the wall and not fixing them, which don't go across to the neighbor's wall, but they were trying to make it look like I was punching holes in my wall to spy on people and things like this. The reasoning is, once again, these frame jobs, but that is a person, a conduit, working with Lorena Escobar in my father's office, who Lorena Escobar has paid off to hunt me and have me killed, since she took a job there around when I was 16, and has been sending woman after me in Southern Oregon State College, University of Colorado, paying people off to try to set me up and frame me and make it look like I'm a violent, paranoid schizo and things like that. All linked to my father, right? Now, so I go into Jerry's. Oh, and at 29, one of the tactics, remember, these tactics are in the thousands. But at 29, after Mike Huntley went from "you're okay" to, hold on, I'm trying to recall all the things which I put on my website, which he said, "You're an out-of-control monster. You're out of control for California," which he was trying to turn around all the people they sent after me on IRC, trying to cover that up. You had better live a careful life. I have given you enough rope to hang yourself with. Remember, I'm sitting in my office at Signet, which Mike Huntley wanted to start the company, which we had a 6-year company, and the guy who supposedly was my friend for 25 years and originally my brother's friend goes from "I'm your friend, let's make money" to "I have given you enough rope to hang yourself with. You had better live a careful life. We are using the system against you." Says anything everyone needs to know, that this guy is literally hunting me down to kill me, and he is obviously getting me close to him to try to set me up, like sending people like Jen Hess, who they paid off to hunt me, kill me, set me up with the police, to get those reactions they could not get, and now they need to cover them up, right? So because they could not get me to go ballistic on Jen Hess, they told the world I hit her with a mask on, right? Just one of these endless thousands and thousands of lies to the world. Now, at that point, aside from, I don't want to go into all the things I was noticing, I just want to give you enough information so that you understand that Kevin Perlman is walking around from place to place, and then he's noticing, or I'm doing this third person thing now, but I don't know why, but I am, so I'm going to place worldwide, and I'm noticing that everywhere I go, people are in an angry rage at me, right? But no one to this day, at 46 years old, will explain what I've done. There's never anything specific. Your past caught up with you, you know what you did, blah, 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 but there is never anything specific. Okay. Especially to justify worldwide global murder operations. Okay. Now I can talk about all the people sent after me on IRC. Like one guy's name was Paranoid, and he was trying to make me paranoid and mentally ill. But they're not mad about the guy named Paranoid who's trying to make me mentally ill. They're mad at Kevin Perlman for putting the puzzle pieces together, that my family's sending people after me, like Paranoid to make me mentally ill, and Mike Huntley to hunt me down and kill me, and Aubrey Fisher to try to fish for everything known to man to have me killed. And of course then they start spewing out their lies that, well, one of Kevin Perlman's nicknames is Vertigo262, so therefore he's committed a crime because his nickname is this, just like my Mike Tyson picture is a crime, and drawing a tree at 10 years old for my mother, which she didn't like, is also a crime, and I wronged them all and ruined all their lives, right? I'm making them kill me, right? Yeah, right. Okay, so one of these tactics is the whistling tactic, and the reason they do it is the hint that I'm a whistleblower. And so And it took me years to figure that out based on people's behaviors and people asking me about my life and then whistling at me and then watching larger and larger groups trying to kill me within that hour, is that they get mad, they hint that I'm a whistleblower, and then they hunt me down and kill me. But that doesn't make much sense, because that's like saying you turn 29, you find out there's a worldwide campaign to kill you, and you're a whistleblower for saying I don't want to die, right? That doesn't fit the criteria of whistleblowers. It's just more skull fucking to make you look crazy while trying to kill you. So for about 5 years, everywhere I went, and it's now started up again in the last 6 months, everywhere I went, people would whistle at me, right? Didn't matter. Hop in my car, drive to Oxnard. Hop in my car, drive to Laguna Beach. Hop in my car, drive to San Diego. Something like 10 to 50 times per day, someone would see me and whistle at me. And it wasn't some random guy whistling. It's done in such a way to let me know it's directed at me. For example, if I'm walking down the street, someone will see me and within a 10-foot radius they'll start whistling and stop. Or every restaurant or coffee shop employee in the world will sit there and whistle over and over the entire time I'm there, right? Every single one, showing that it's about me. So I go to, and then more importantly, every restaurant in the world I go to, the chef or some employee will sit there whistling at me, and I believe that links back to a guy that Kelly Hatch was dating at University of Colorado, who she said went to culinary school, and I said something negative about him because I was friends with Kelly, and that supposedly was the end-all be-all of crimes, which, as we all know, people talk about people all day, and people have friends, and people talk about their opinions about other people, and they are not crimes, and people are hunted with worldwide support and killed over, just like tapping your foot around Aubrey Fisher, saying you committed the foot-tapping crime and it's your behavior. Right? Do you understand? Okay, so last night I go to Jerry's Deli. The chef starts whistling over and over that you're a whistleblower. He gives me the matzo ball soup I ordered, and he gives me 3 bagels with holes in them because I made some joke that I'm a kebble hole. Because one of their claims is that because Kevin Perlman, me, is an asshole, he needs to be hunted and killed by worldwide support, even though I'm the opposite of an asshole, trying to make me think that there's an asshole crime out there that there's worldwide groups hunting down and actively trying to exterminate with billions of government dollars. Right? No, I don't think so. Okay, so I've met tons of assholes in my life, especially murderers like Mike Huntley, and they're not being hunted and killed. And Mike Huntley isn't just an asshole, he's a murderer, right? He's a murderer that has invested over 30 years in trying to have me killed, but he has done nothing wrong, working with the LAPD and NSA and FBI on worldwide murder operations. And that's okay, just never say anything negative or you're an asshole with worldwide people to hunt you and kill you, right? So, the chef exerts the you're a murderer tactic, or you're you're a whistleblower tactic, and starts whistling the entire time I'm there. I'm a kebble hole because there's a porn star named Asa Akira, who her screen name is Asa Hole, and the reason she chose that, along with her hidden messages about my Oregon life, my Southern Oregon State life, is because she's doing their little like parody, like I'm like Kevin and I'm an asshole, and their paranoid schizo tactics. But I say it, everyone on the internet goes ballistic because they don't like me standing up for myself, because this is about immobilizing someone and torturing to death and killing them, just like tying someone down to a chair and slicing up with a knife until they're dead and gone. And your garden variety murderer does not like you defending yourself in any way, shape, or form, just like my father said, you are not allowed to defend yourself. With Mike Huntley also telling me you are not allowed to defend yourself, showing that my father wants to kill me and immobilize me with the rest of my family, for what I know, and the police and government, right? Immobilize the target and torture and kill them, and do it in such a way that they can't defend themselves. They just die. They can't tell anyone. They just die. Or they get them to do something so bad that they arrest them and lock them away and put them in mental institutions, just like my brother's threats to my life, that he and his friends are going to put me in a mental institution after stopping him from bashing Gregoire's head in with a crowbar, as if saving my friend's life, which probably really wasn't that bad, was the end-all be-all of crimes, right? Okay? So anyways, he whistles, I make the Kevin Hole joke, he puts the 3 bagel chips on the soup, and on the corned beef sandwich they put he puts an olive with a toothpick, obviously hinting about holes, because I've eaten at Jerry's for over 20 years, and the amount of corned beef sandwiches I've had, there was never an olive with a toothpick on top, right? You get the idea. So once again, these are little cryptic messages, and it's not in a joking way. It's all day and night, 24/7, from every stranger on the planet until I'm dead and gone, while I tell people what's going on, and they go, you're crazy, it's not. And no matter how much video footage proof of the blatantly obvious things, like 20 pairs a day of identical cars and twos in front of my house alone, everyone refuses to look at. In the psychology community, even the police department, the detectives, the death threats on video, the police pretend don't exist, right? I've had all sorts of lines with Detective Shapiro and Detective Angela Stewart going, yeah, you sent me a video, but there's nothing there, and no guy physically attacked you with his dog, and you have no proof of it, but I gave them hospital reports showing dog bites, right? All these things, black and white proof. They just sit there and turn a blind eye because they're involved in a murder operation to have me killed. And they don't want that coming to light. And this is now a worldwide murder operation to have me killed. Okay? All based on things like being the nicest person known to man and stopping my brother from bashing Gregoire's head in with a crowbar, which, once again, my family supports my brother bashing people's skulls in with crowbars, and then saying Kevin's a rat for saving his life or speaking out about it after finding out that I'm being hunted and killed by worldwide support. Now, here's where things fall apart. They fall apart when my family and everyone around me's behavior does a 180 to other people. For example, after my father hiring me to work in his office, he plays this game like by talking and being social with the employees. I'm a reckless, crazy man. And while my father's in the office, he plays this game like people don't talk and this and that. But when I'm not looking, or I'm not around, my father's kissing them all on the cheeks and going out to social events with them, right? So, what my family tells me to my face is a 180-degree disinformation to reality and how things operate, with my father telling me that I don't know how the world works and I'm weird and I'm crazy, right? But when I'm not around, my father exerts the same perfectly human, normal behaviors, just like everyone else, the same as me. So the reasoning behind their madness is to brainwash me into thinking that I'm a bad person and did something wrong, and I'm reckless and careless and an out-of-control monster and doing things that are creating chaos, which are all perfectly normal, right? Example, going to a coffee shop, reading a book, resting your feet up on a chair outside is not a reckless behavior. It is perfectly normal, and if that was the case, companies like Lazy Boy Chairs or the billions of chair makers that sell chairs, reclining chairs with footrests, would not exist because they're all inappropriate criminal behaviors, right? Okay, so in Jerry's Deli, not only do we have the corned beef sandwich with the little olive hole and the 3 bagel chips on the soup, but also the waitress gives me a steak knife, linking back to my brother at childhood, right? Okay, so now why is the chef hinting that I'm a whistleblower while sending me hidden messages to make me mentally ill, and the waitress putting a steak knife on the table either to try to get me to go ballistic and stab someone with a steak knife, or hint to me that it's somehow like you're a whistleblower and I'm hinting to you why, right? Okay, first of all, why would they care, right? That's the most important question. Why would, I'm 46 years old, when I was, who knows, 8 to 10, 12, this stupid, insignificant incident happened that nobody could care about. My brother decided that he and my family with the government are going to kill me over some incident that they don't, that nobody could care less about. And a random waitress at the age of 21 years old and the chef that I have never seen in Encino are mad about this event that nobody could care less about, right? Nobody at all. I mean, if I were to walk up to you and say, you see that guy, this event happened to him when he was a kid, blah, blah, they would laugh at me. They would go, so? Who fucking cares? Did anyone get hurt? Is anyone dead? Blah, blah, blah. No? Okay. And they go, you're crazy for telling me that, right? Okay. So, you get the idea. They want reactions, they want to set me up, they want to try to guilt me to death, and they want that coerced false confession that I tried to kill my brother and this and that, over things that nobody could care less about. Okay, so, this type of thing happens at every place and location worldwide, and it's always the same thing. We have worldwide campaigns to kill you over things that don't matter, and you better not tell anyone that there's worldwide campaigns to kill you, or we're going to kill you for being a whistleblower. All equates to the same exact thing. We're just going to kill you, no matter what it takes. We want you dead and gone, right? Now, I've heard all sorts of things like his kind can't exist. I don't exactly know what that means, because my kind of being single was created by a family launching worldwide campaigns saying we're going to hunt you down with worldwide support, and you're not allowed to have friends, relationships, meet anyone, have sex, or do anything else, because we're going to kill you. And then, like everything else, trying to turn it around that Kevin is a sociopath and plays mind games with people and tries to kill people, and he's doing these things with his art and blah, blah, blah. Just jumping from one thing to the next in the thousands until I'm dead and gone, all coming from a family at 5 years old, we had a kid, we don't like him, he's 5 years old, we're going to have an abortion, we didn't get what we wanted, let's kill him. Well, why is the government helping? I cannot tell you. But there's the government and worldwide support. So let me pause this for a few seconds because there's still other related events. I mean, everything's connected and related, but there's some more obvious events that I want to talk about, and I need to let it all come back in my brain so I can let you understand the dynamics. Okay, so I just thought of some of the related events. One of my father's tactics was to take me. My father would always want to go out to restaurants with me and pretend that he wanted to see his son and associate with his son, which is perfectly normal. But when he took me to these restaurants, him and Lorraine Escobar would notify the people at all restaurants to try to provoke me into reactions to make it look like I would make a scene at restaurants with these cryptic terror tactics. Some of these terror tactics ranged from every single employee at every restaurant in the world saying enjoy in repetition over and over to try to trigger me to make it look like I'm a violent paranoid schizo to get reactions, right? There was a whole set of these tactics. Hey, you go in, the hostess might say hey really loud, hinting about one girl, Heather Yankee Doodles, that they sent after me to follow me to the Encino Starbucks to stalk me, and then say I'm stalking her. From the Yankee Doodles pool hall, my father would have waitresses from the pool halls with Lorena Escobar follow me to strip clubs and get jobs there, saying I'm stalking them. Same with restaurants, either waiting for me, trying to get me to talk to them so they could go ballistic and say I'm stalking them. Things like this. One's name was Gina from Yankee Doodles, which was following me to Houston's restaurant and foreplay. And I didn't know. I thought it was just a coincidence. So I was being really nice to the person, but you can only imagine the things that were being said. Other things at steakhouses, I want to stick with the steak knives. My father would take me to steakhouses. He liked to go to Ruth Chris a lot in Woodland Hills. And what they would do is they would ask me how I want the steak, right? And I would say medium rare, just a little pink in the middle. And each and every time they would consistently do it wrong. And every single time they would make it like bloody rare, like gummy, right? Like obviously if someone says I want the steak medium rare, just a little pink, it's pretty straightforward, right? And you would say I want it medium rare, and it would be beyond any level of rare, like steak tartare, and you say this isn't medium rare, and you take it back and come back, it'd be the same. You take it back and come back, it'd be the same. You take it and come back, it'd be the same. And then maybe they switch up and they make it like overcooked, right? And you say, look, I want it medium rare. And then they go into things how you're a perfectionist and you want it perfect, and you're crazy and impossible. And then you go to the manager, and maybe after like 8 times, they do it. And this happens at every single steak place in the world. Now, what is the reasoning? What is their reasoning? They're plopping down a steak knife in front of you. You got a father telling the world that you tried to kill your brother with a steak knife, that on something that he wasn't around and he won't leave it alone. all the things said about me are all one-sided. Remember that with their worldwide propaganda systems. So it's back to the you're not allowed to defend yourself, right? We said these things about you. They're true. We said these things about you. They are true. They're going worldwide illegally, which is called libel, slander, defamation, civil damages to my life, except in this case, this is actually attempted murder, so it's not civil. It's both. It's the civil crime of defamation, but it's the premeditated intent to have someone killed in such a way that looks invisible, right? Just like putting poison in someone's food. They're setup operations, and they are endless. They never stop, right? Now why? Why is my father taking me to restaurants and steakhouses, trying to get me to explode in anger while telling the world I have suffered from anger and rage and am a danger to myself or others, and no matter how many times I pass the test, they just keep doing it until they can break me and get those reactions, right? Well, that is not exposing someone. That is not proof of anything. These are endless setup operations until someone gets what they want, and that's my father ridding me of the world with the government and worldwide support for obviously me knowing what's going on, because like I said before, it's not a crime for someone to say you're angry, enraged, and violent. And if every time you meet someone you're the nicest person known to man, the act of manipulation is what you call a setup. Okay? A setup to rid someone of the world. Okay, now, this obviously happens whether my father's around or not. But because he had people like Lorena Escobar paid off to notify worldwide groups with the government support, Officer Sean Dinsey's support, to have me killed. So the police are being paid off, and this also is with my stepfather Arnold Silver with his insane amounts of money. But yet, where everything falls apart is where not one person is saying, these people are contacting me, told to set this guy up and rid him of the world or kill him, and I don't think I'm involved in a crime. Doesn't really make much sense. But remember, the psychology community is behind all these operations with the government. And hold on a sec, I gotta pause it because I had a really good, some really good thoughts to apply to this, and I forgot them, but they'll come back in a second. If I can find the app. Okay, another event that seems to be related to steaks, which this almost sounds comical. It's like the psycho family, the psycho anti-steak family, right? Okay, another, and sorry about the GPS in the background. Another event at 16 years old. Okay, my mother divorced my father. My mother divorced my father around when I was 13. They had a house in Hidden Hills. My mother stayed in Hidden Hills, and my father moved to Woodland Hills on a house on DeSoto and Avenue San Luis, right off Ventura Boulevard, if anyone knows the location. Right next to Peralta Street, where ironically I had a pal Peralta skateboard, which I would skate from Hidden Hills to his house on DeSoto and go visit him and things like this. I'm sure he would say that's reckless and I'm a criminal and need to die. Anyways, so on this house in DeSoto, was like the party house, right? This was like a great house. We had a pool table where I learned how to play pool. he had the bar area, which we would all kind of at 16 drink and party and whatever. He had his satellite dish where it got everything, and everyone would actually end up like watching porno and whatever. Even sometimes where Greg Waugh would fuck around and turn on the outdoor speakers, being Greg Waugh being a kid and probably pissing off some people or whatever. Things that nobody cares much about, right? Maybe some neighbors at the time might have got pissed off or whatever. But around that time, my dad would buy all these New York steaks, like boxes of New York steaks, and I would end up cooking a lot of New York steaks and eating them, whatever. I mean, everyone loves their meat unless you're vegan and whatever, and it's not the type of thing anyone can care about. Now, if my father's trying to say, oh, my son has OCD and he ate too many steaks, that's pretty insane. And by the way, remember, if you have OCD, it means that you can't stop, right? It means that if I was some crazy steak OCDer, which I've never heard of, but there are stranger things with OCD, then I wouldn't have the ability to stop eating steaks, right? I would have to eat like a steak a day, and I'd go crazy and kill someone if I did or something, whatever. Needless to say, I eat the steaks, he gets mad or something, I can't tell you, but around this time, he had his dog Rhoda, and supposedly the reason he called Rhoda Rhoda was because his girlfriend Donna, who supposedly breeded sorry. Oh wait, I need our light. We need light. I'm not lit. We need light without getting in an accident. Uh-oh. Okay, we got light. We need light. Oh, that's on off. Light color temp. Okay, we got light. Okay, so he dates a lady, Donna, who I think lives in Malibu, or at least through Topanga Canyon. She supposedly breeds Rhodesian Ridgebacks. She gives him a Rhodesian Ridgeback. He names the dog Rhoda, but he has a joint purpose like everything else. Rhodesian Ridgeback, he names Rhoda, but he's actually hinting about Kevin Perlman and Rhodes, and hinting that Kevin Perlman is a dog. Things I never quite picked up on until the endless Kevin's a dog hidden messages. Well, people try to mentally shock me to death, so to speak, with their psychological warfare tactics, and Rhodey Morales coming in my life, trying with the LAPD, trying to get murder confessions that I killed someone, and I have newspaper clippings of Rhodey and involved in these investigations. And Rhodey, while pretending he's the fun-loving, friendly guy, like I said before, the fourth person from 20 to 30 saying, Kevin, let's go to strip clubs, while staging all these frame job operations that I'm trying to make people these frame job operations that I'm stalking strippers and following them to strip clubs on things for later conversations, applying to the Victoria Walker operations, asking me to go to websites where the strippers had prostitution ads, while she pretended or worked at partypop.com with the sole intention, like everyone else, playing both sides of the fence, to stage these things. Example, everything they put spyware on my computer. NSA is tracking everything I do on my computer. And then Victoria Walker would say, Kevin, can you go to my website and do this? Leading me to, this is just one example out of many, leading me to a stripper named Stefania, a Latin stripper, hinting about Skylar Stephanie, which was working on me with the why is the sky blue tactic. And then Rody Morales saying, let's go to foreplay, where Stefania follows me to foreplay, befriending me, or not befriending me, but wanting to spend all her time with me. Then she follows me to the Oxynar Experiment Rhino, trying to make it look just like the Alexis Amore tactics, that I'm following her from place to place, right? And of course, when Stefania gets jealous, she gets angry, and even more and more groups come after me. But to be realistic, these groups were always hunting me, just trying to make it look like it's somehow Kevin's fault for being reckless, treating women like shit, and Kevin's an asshole, and this and that. None of them obviously are true, because how can you diss a stripper? Their job is to talk to you, get lap dances, take your money, and then be on their way, right? So, obviously, Stefania, like the thousands of other strippers and girls on IRC who wanted me dead to begin with, who never had any intentions of dating me, getting married, and having a family, all of a sudden I've wronged these people by the crime of not dating them, marrying them, or whatever. Doesn't make any sense like everything else, but that's not what the world is told, right? Okay, the world is told that Kevin Perlman is following these people off websites with his NSA resources and hunting them down, trying to kill them. While Rody Morales is trying to get murder confessions that I've killed people, right? Where does it even come from? Well, it comes from, like I originally stated, punishment for a family that wants to dictate their son's life. Therefore, they hand you the cookie. They hand you the cookie, and they say, take a bite of the cookie, and you do, and then they said, well, we're going to hunt you down and kill you because you ate the cookie, and eating the cookie is a reckless crime. But eating the cookie is not a reckless crime, especially when someone hands you the cookie. But that's not what the world is told. Then they'll try to say it's shady because I went to strip clubs, and going to strip clubs are shady. Well, okay, it is a little shady, but it's no shady than a swinger who sleeps around, couples sleep around, and you don't see this happening to any swingers worldwide. Okay, so how did I get on this tangent? I got on this tangent because after my father naming the dog Rhoda to try to send me hidden reference messages and turn me into a schizophrenic to rid me of the world out of his hate and rage for me because I'm not a perfect square like them, who thinks that farting is the end-all be-all of crimes, is working his murder magic with Rhoda. And while eating his steaks, his New York steaks, I can't remember where he had ordered them from, but my guess is there's probably some kind of hidden messages in that. He didn't like, and he's probably pitching some pitch how I'm crazy, and that relates to my brother and the steak knife, right? Needless to say, this is where things get a little strange. Rhoda, who my father put shock collars on, to control, instead of showing his lack of communication and an abusive murderer, which I wasn't picking up on, because even though I knew that it was wrong and probably said some things to him, I knew that he was exerting some strange abusive behaviors, but I didn't think it was the end-all, be-all of demented parents, if that makes sense. Like I explained in some of my videos about Mr. Quigley telling me to punch Paul Schaefer, the bully kid who was bullying me in class because he wanted to set me up for assault and battery, and make it look like I'm a violent paranoid schizo, even with that neighbor 2 days ago trying to make me think I'm like him, saying he's Irish, and whenever someone's mad, he just punches them. Or whenever he's mad, he just punches them, trying to make it think that I'm like him, and I can't see myself, and saying he's seen my website, but refusing to acknowledge that someone being hunted and killed by his entire community is wrong, no matter what the reason. And later that night, someone parking their car, leaving their lights on like the rest of them, pointed where we were talking, sending me more hidden messages, a different neighbor. You get the idea, right? So, while Mr. Quigley told me to punch Paul Schaefer, Mr. Quigley was actually the cool teacher who was like this fun-loving, cool guy. And so, when Mr. Quigley showed a moment of imperfection, even though it's pretty damn fucked up, teachers generally don't tell students to punch other students, it's not because I'm a careless individual, it's because if you meet someone that appears to be a really good person and they fuck up, it doesn't mean they're hunting you down and after you, it means that they fucked up, right? And if someone fucks up, you give them a little leeway, but if they show a pattern of behavior of constantly fucking up, then they're not a cool person. They're, in that case, if Mr. Quigley, his dynamics were the same as my father, of constant setup attempts, then I would say something's wrong with this guy, opposed to a moment of breaking from being a good person and screwing up, showing that I'm actually within the gray and how most people operate on this planet, and my father showing that he's like Adolf Hitler with their Kevin's kind can't exist, right? If Kevin's gay, he's going to hunt down and kill Kevin. If Kevin's different, he's going to hunt down and kill Kevin. Like Rob Rosencrantz's father, who kicked Rob Rosencrantz out of the house for being gay, which ended up poorly because Rob Rosencrantz ended up shooting Steve Redman 14 times with an Uzi, who told his father he was gay, sort of trying to make it look like I'm Steve Redman or whatever, right? Okay, so anyways, back to the topic, which is that during this time frame, Rhoda, the poor abused dog, with a shock collar and a little remote to shock him, which I never got near, and you could bet your money that my father was hoping with my brother that after he put the shock collar on Rhoda, that he was hoping that he could probably get me to shock Rhoda to death. And who knows if the world was told that after my father put the shock collar on Rhoda, my father probably was telling the world that I was shocking Rhoda to death, or my father might even have put the shock collar on Rhoda to tell the world it was me who put the shock collar on Rhoda. Now, my father did buy the shock collar at a pet store, probably because I've been on the net, on the internet, and some of these pet stores do sell this demented crap, which I do not justify. And while these shocks aren't fatal shocks, it is still abusive, just like my family doing these abusive things to me over and over, instead of having some kind of communication skills and showing love, affection, and speaking directly like people. Now, remember that these first 2013 arrests came right after me contacting a therapist, Karina Eshigen or whatever, and I was telling her about my abusive father, and the shock collar is when Officer Jensen, by the way, Jen Hess, Jensen, Kat and Jen, when Eric Christianson sent after me, hinting about Jen, Jen Yang, and Greg Law, arrested me for sitting on the sidewalk and trying to make claims that I had battered people by throwing business cards at them, which first are not true, but second, even if I did throw a business card at a person, you cannot batter someone with a piece of paper flying through the air and touching them, even though nothing like this ever happened, showing that the police are involved. And Officer Jensen, who arrested me, when asking for his badge number, and him trying to tell me that I'm a pedophile, because if my camera takes a picture of someone underage, that's pedophilia, even though that underage person is fully clothed. Right? Okay? So now you can understand that the LAPD, with my family, are hunting me down no matter what. It's not because I did anything wrong, and they're trying to get whatever they can to use against me to either exterminate me or lock me away in jail cells or mental institutions, not because I've done anything wrong, but because of what I've known. Hence, Officer Toro, before Jensen, if I ever take a picture of a person, he will exercise the law in his own way. And Mike Wexler, 8 years before this in Colorado, with his hints, I better not ever take a picture of a person, showing that they are going to hunt me down and exterminate me if I am the perfect role model or not, and hence you understanding what's going on. So, Rhoda hated being outdoors. We're at my father's house in Avenue San Luis, and we put Rhoda outside one night, and Rhoda wouldn't stop barking. So, well, Rhoda kept barking over and over. She wanted to get in. Spoiled dog. As I come outside, because Rhoda wouldn't stop barking, the neighbor of Avenue San Luis that lived above my father's house yells at me that if I don't shut up our dog, he's going to put poison in the dog's food. Now that was that. Rhoda after that was generally put back in the house because you couldn't put Rhoda outside because she just kept barking forever, and that was that. Of course, a couple of years later, after graduating and going to Southern Oregon State College, one of Kelly Hatch's weird paranoid schizophrenia tactics was to tell me that growing up, she wasn't allowed to eat food at her parents' house, and her father put locks on the cabinet doors for the food. Right? Now, why did she tell me that? Was it true? I highly doubt it. I believe the reason Kelly Hatch was saying these things was to spark the thoughts about Rhoda and the guy saying he's going to put poison in the food, which seems to apply to my family poisoning the well. About every person or female that I come in contact with bombardments of every lie known to man before I meet them, saying Kevin did this, Kevin did that, poisoning the well. But what was the real reason? The real reason is to spark paranoia, try to create schizophrenia. For example, she's hinting about, just as I spoke about the Brian Longbottom spy game tactics and having me work on spy game while sending me hidden reference messages, while having me work on the pilot spy game at Universal Studios, it's the same thing, right? There's a girl who has been given all this personal NSA data mined information about my life. She's hinting about aspects of my life which back then I wasn't picking up on, showing me movies about the bad seed, where the daughter, I think's name is Rhoda, who is killing all the people, and she's like 8 years old, and she's hinting about Rhoda the dog, and she's hinting about the guy saying, if you don't bring your dog in, I'm going to put poison in the food, blah, blah, blah. Well, let me tell you, if I went to the police back then and said that guy yelled at me, the police are going to say, well, you know, bring your dog in the house, because if a guy's yelling at you from a dog doesn't shut up, bring your dog in the house, which is pretty much what happened anyways. Rhoda was outside of the house one night only, and hence back to the Kevin better be perfect or we're going to hunt him down and kill him with billions of government dollars doesn't really add up to a stupid barking dog, if you get my drift. So, why is Kelly Hatch sent after me to sit there sending me hidden reference messages about, while driving her Jeep Cherokee, about migrating people and getting rid of them, while trying to get murder confessions with the police, government, NSA, FBI, LAPD on things she shouldn't have any knowledge of, right? Well, the reason, like I stated before, is for me to pick up on the hidden messages, tell people what's going on, and then saying you're crazy and you're reading into things and you're a violent paranoid schizo. Which didn't work. And there were all sorts of events with Kelly Hatch and going to movies and being cool. Okay, so I filled my SD card up, so I had to stop and switch SD cards, and get me a Snicker. Oh, am I recording? Doesn't look like I'm recording. It says I'm recording, but the little light ain't blinking. Huh. Okay, I guess we're recording. The light ain't blinking like it normally does. Okay, so got me a Snickers, and everyone loves my social network Snickers jokes, which I'm sure is inappropriate behavior according to my family and government. Anyways, alright, so obviously I'm gonna eat dog though. Where was I though? I got cut off mid-sentence. I was talking about Rhoda, Kelly Hatch. Oh, the spy game tactics of Kelly Hatch, the reasoning Kelly Hatch and the police and government are sending me their hidden reference messages or spy game messages about my childhood is obviously so they can flip me into a state of paranoia and make me look crazy. So what are you gonna do? Oh, hey, I think this girl's stalking me, right? Go to the police. Hey, I think Kelly Hatch is stalking me. Well, what did she do? Oh, well, she's sending me reference messages and blah, 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 and then cops are gonna go, well, don't talk to Kelly Hatch, right? Okay, well, so what's the reasoning behind that is to make it look like I'm obsessed and stick around people that are abusive, except the problem is that they leave out the full story like usual, which is you keep going from person to person, and they just keep taking over one sequentially after the next, until something bad happens, at least they hope, and so that's their motive, is to keep working on you your entire life, from person to person, to try to trigger you into reactions, and go, hey, he just went ballistic on someone, and beat the shit out of them. Of course, that hasn't happened yet, and hence why Officer Sean Dinsey was so desperate to forge and fabricate false discovery on their false arrests, was because they just, that's their agenda, to lock me away, throw me in jail, get those convictions, no matter how untrue they are. And while that's not for this conversation, I can assure you that, I finally said enough's enough and said I'm going to, after the 2017 arrests, I'm pleading not guilty, and I have all the proof and evidence of these mass stalkings and death threats on video. My lawyer, like every other lawyer that was contacted by Detective Angela Stewart, and Shapiro and the entire police department and NSA, FBI worldwide, like usual, managed, and I don't know how, to contact every lawyer on the planet, literally, and I could not get help from any of them while they all started to spout out shit that I'm crazy and this and that. And remember, these are strangers, people that don't know me in different cities and different states, all stating that I'm crazy and they won't help me. Says anything anyone needs to know. It's not the police's job to contact lawyers and tell them don't help Kevin Perlman and stop the truth from coming out, and say, you're crazy, I'm not going to help you, no matter how much proof you have. Oh, well, I don't feel like looking at the proof, right? Well, I want to show you what's being done to me. To thousands of lawyers, nope, I won't look at it. You could pay them $100,000, they would go, nope, I'm not going to look at it until after the trial and things like this, right? Well, lawyers don't do that. Lawyers make their money winning. Their reputations get boosted by winning cases, and if someone like me goes to a lawyer, they're going to say, I'm going to win this because it's going to make me famous because I just saved someone from being hunted with insane resources. But that's not how it's working out on this instance. Which means that these resources being used on me go straight to the top on government, federal types of operations, which are way beyond illegal, known to man, which Edward Snowden came forward about. And I am the example of what Edward Snowden talks about. You're living your life, you turn 29, you're met with 100,000 raptors from both sides coming in at you in all directions. You don't know what the hell is going on. You wake up this horrific nightmare that you are literally being hunted by a planet full of people for no reason at all. And the strangest part about it is I'm not there is never any direct conversation as to what it is actually about, right? You're just a bad person. We have a planet full of people we're going to hunt you and kill you with psychological warfare operations, and you know what you did, blah, blah, blah. But yet, the very people like my father who says you know what you did can't tell you what you did because he damn well knows, like everyone else, that there is nothing you did. And anything you could have done could not justify a planet full of people trying to kill you in such ways that you can't defend yourself or tell anyone, right? It is unheard of. And hold on, I gotta look at my GPS too. I'm on my way to Santa Monica here, and I was already harassed at the first black guy saying things in patterns of threes at the gas station, trying to trigger me into a fight. So once again, you get the idea in all these videos. In every single place I stopped, or at least almost every single place I stopped at worldwide, I met with anger and rage, with people trying to make me mentally ill and kill me. But they're trying to spin it off as, like my father tried to tell me in his cryptic ways, that people are just teasing me, but yet it's this, you're known worldwide, but you're not known worldwide, and every single person you meet is going to tease you to death endlessly, and then tell you you're imagining it, nobody knows you, is a paranoid schizophrenia campaign orchestrated by the psychology community with police and government to exterminate you and eradicate you and get those reactions, keep you in a state of pain and mental pain and aggravation while people play these games. The only type of crimes is if you're physically touched or something like that, right? Well, I can assure you that there's tons of crimes that don't involve physically touching people. Fraud is a good example. People that steal like $100,000 of your money and trick you into thinking that you're doing business with them. They are not touching you, and those are criminal acts, right? Since I'm on that topic, that is one of the scams my father and these mass groups were trying to pretend that I've somehow stolen money from them. I'm on the run example. I was talking about it on some other videos, which link right back to Eric Christianson. My father claiming I stole $10,000 from him and his company because at 16 I was building cars and I bought a 426 Hemi, which was sort of bait and switch to me with Brian Weaver and Pineapple Joe, but I'm not blaming anyone necessarily for that, even though their motives were to screw me over. I'm more blaming my father for stating that I stole $10,000 to buy the engine, because what happened was I worked in his office. He hired me to work in his office. I worked in his office in the file room for several years till my fingers bled so I could afford building cars, and my father got mad because he didn't want his son building cars because his son's supposedly out of control, even though he hasn't done anything out of control. And I'm not mentioning person after person at Kevin's Burgers and Mason and the street races constantly throwing vehicles at me to try to make it look like I'm a reckless driver, or the other people which did that in front of Honda dealerships and going to Calabasas High. Those for different conversations, but you get the idea that my family with the police and government will stop at nothing to try to rid me of the world, no matter how good or perfect of a person I am. It's more about dictating someone's life, but is it really about that? Because they jump from thing to thing. Playing pool at pool halls is reckless, while they watch their pool hustling movies and think that the pool hustling movies are real, to going to coffee shops is reckless. Well, last I checked it, going to coffee shops does not exert reckless behavior, right? And so, not reckless or shady behavior, right? You get the idea. Once this starts jumping from car engines to pool halls to coffee shops, then you start to realize that it's really about, I just don't like you and I want to rid you of the world. So finally hatch. Hold on. Uh-oh. Sorry, my GPS just said you got to the location, which isn't the exact location. It's in the vicinity, so I'm gonna pause this here while I reroute my GPS. Where is my GPS? Where's my pause? Pause. Okay, so I've arrived at Santa Monica. I'm on Colorado Street. I'm guessing tonight I will see lots of people with solid black pants, solid gray shirts, and probably either solid black pants, solid red shirts, or solid black pants and yellow shirts, or blue pants with yellow shirts, all in mass groups. I just got here, so I haven't looked, but usually what happens is the numbers exponentially increase very rapidly within 15 minutes to a half an hour, where you see a rate of change from normality to mass stalking pattern groups. And so, like I said before, this is one of the thousands of tactics, from color patterns to verbal type things, like the amount of people that when they talk to me they say man, hinting about things in repetition until you start to question why do they keep saying this over and over. But of course you're always told I don't know you and you're imagining it. Anyways, I think I'm fairly spent on the steak knife thing, and I'm sure there's all sorts of connected other events about that. And keep in mind when I'm talking, or keep in mind if you've listened to the entire conversation, you'll realize that this isn't a simple situation where I think you did this, I don't like you, I'm not talking to you, and it's over with. These are situations that are connected worldwide from person to person, working all sorts of paranoid schizophrenia tactics to try to exterminate me, meaning that this situation links into that situation, it links into this situation, it links into the next situation. I'm sure there's probably another 100 events linking to this one steak knife situation, but from what I've told you, you can now understand the progression of events worldwide. And one of the things told me by Brian Weaver, remember I mentioned Brian Weaver contacted and sent after me as far back as 8th grade to try to set me up, frame me, provoke me into situations. And at 29, while Mike Huntley was pretty much telling me I'm a dead man, Brian Weaver was basically telling me that this is a public shaming, which makes sense in the respect that they're spewing out every lie known to man in secret. First of all, there's no such thing as a public shaming of notifying the world in secret that this guy has done 1,000 different things that aren't true, that you've never been arrested for, or it's been proven, and then telling the world in secret to hunt you down, torture you, and guilt you to death until you're dead and gone, based on public shaming. The public shaming, which are pretty much frowned upon to begin with, is something like, you can go to court, or if you were caught for a crime and you went to court and tried and found guilty, which remember, just because someone is found guilty doesn't mean they're actually guilty, especially in my case where the lawyer refused to bring in any evidence that supported anything at all in any way, shape, or form. He tricked me on going on the stand when he should have told me to take the fifth, especially with the testimony of Terrence Scroggins stating that this is his city, this is his townhouse complex, and my ownership doesn't exist, and he can do whatever he wants, and he's in anger management and all sorts of things like that. My lawyer should have told me to not take the stand, which most lawyers would tell you to do anyways. But not only that, even right before I took the stand, my lawyer and another person sent after me posing as a criminal defense lawyer, which actually works for an insurance company as a civil lawyer. What was his name? His name is... Jesus. Hold on. I can't remember his name, but I'm sure it's on my website, but that's a shame. Anyways, they took me into the room, or like one of the courtrooms before, the private rooms before taking the stand, and they asked me what I was going to say, and I pretty much, so I've seen 3 or 4 black and grays already, but they took me in the little private room where they plea bargain, and they asked me, what are you going to say on stand? And the night before, I talked to my attorney, Seymour Amster, and he said, well, I'm going to ask you questions. Or I said, are you going to ask me questions like what happened on this day? And he said, yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And he asked me what I was going to say on the stand, with this other person posing to be a friend of my family's, which I'd never seen before, and supposedly hinting about my childhood when we lived on in Woodland Hills on, oh God, I don't even remember the street's name, but where our dog Oppo bit my brother, and when I was really young, and when I told him that I was going to start in on 2 days before, how the car mechanic or the auto body shop guy in Van Nuys told me that Sean Dinsey is stalking me, I was going to mention that in the court, and so he cut me off when he got me on the stand. He said, so what happened when you walked out of your house, changing the questions that were asked as my defense attorney to censor all data that shows that I was being hunted by the police. So with that being said, you understand that my own lawyer, who pretty much stole $15,000 from me for misdemeanor charges, as they threw me into maximum security prison for 11 days off the record, to try to scare and thug me quiet, would not bring in any evidence whatsoever on my side. He would not cross-examine, ask any questions that would show that the cops are stalking me, showing that everything I've ever done, like passing out cards, which is not a big deal, is in self-defense to attempt a murder, right? And when you're saying there's mass groups of people trying to hunt you down and kill you and mob you to death worldwide, and your biggest crime is passing out cards and there's some litter, you get the idea that they're more concerned that people might get the message of what's being done to me, as opposed to with illegal government operations, as opposed to anything truthful on the stand. Remember, that's all public record that any of you can order off of either the lacourt.org website, or there's another website. You can order the court transcripts off pacer.org. It's like Pacer government, pacer.gov or something like that. It's the Pacer system, which has all public records of court dockets to the court trial transcripts, probably even the arrest discovery is released in 90 days after any trial made public. So if anyone wants to actually read those court hearings, I suggest you do it and understand the context of the situation, that the government, with the entire judicial system and psychology community, are hunting me down no matter what it takes. And back to Brian Weaver, who was sent after me, when Brian Weaver states that there is a public shaming, what he is really saying, my point was that generally a public shaming is, hey, you were arrested for this and you were convicted, now the judge might give you an option to pay a fine, go to jail for this long, or stand out in front with a sign that says, I committed this crime, would be the definition of a public shaming, and not worldwide libel, slander, defamation, in secret to the world with thousands and thousands of lies. You did this, you did that, hunt him down and kill him, fear-mongering the entire planet against someone to have them killed. Because, like I was just saying, even a conviction doesn't necessarily mean you're guilty, but if they're saying that they can publicly shame you based on whatever they feel like saying, they can say whatever they want. And once you start saying whatever you want about someone and destroying their name and reputation, that's what we call libel, slander, defamation. Those are civil crimes. And as I said before, this isn't just a civil crime. There's criminal intent behind the information dissemination. Example, Kevin Perlman raped a girl, everyone hunt him down and kill him, right? I don't think that one was said about me in these thousands of lies, but we got pedophilia, we got car thieves, we got hacking to make people mentally ill, we got stealing, we got everything known to man, right? But none of it's true, and that's the point, is you can't go around publicly shaming someone with what you feel about someone or what you think about someone, because that's all hearsay or opinion. And so that's the point, and that's what they don't want coming to light, is anything truthful. Now I'm down in Santa Monica by the pier, and they really hate when I come down here. Their most recent justification is that by me having a sign on my car, KevinPerlmanTarget.com, stalked by the government or whatever it says. The government sent after me since childhood to remove me from society. They claim that my sign is making all these people hunt me down to do these demented things to me because I'm causing problems for everyone, and that is the stupidest thing known to man. I mean, that's like saying if you bought a truck and you put Joe's Plumbing on the truck, you're somehow doing something wrong to people when they are human beings and responsible for their own actions, and they have the option to look at the sign, ignore the sign, read the sign and go, that guy's weird, crazy, whatever. But it's not doing anything to them. It's just exercising the First Amendment freedom of speech, which was designed for this exact situation, government tyranny, and a person's ability to speak out in self-defense, to stay alive and keep a balance between government corruption and the government doing whatever the hell they want, our government, the people's government, for the people, as we're supposed to be protected by the Constitution of the United States. Hence, my First Amendment and every other amendment taken away from me at 5 years old. My father, with Mike Huntley's statement, you're not allowed to defend yourself, even tell anyone what's going on, or we kill you, with full police and government support. You get the idea, which is what's really going on here. And is what people really need to understand, is a public shaming is my family's interpretation of events that they want them to be from their paranoid psychotic personalities. But as we've seen, their lies change on a daily basis, are completely inconsistent, and they say whatever they need to say to get whatever they want. Hence why things like telling the world anything you want about someone is illegal civilly. right? You can't go out and invest $1 million saying so-and-so is a pedophile because there are damages, you've destroyed someone's life, and you're sued for it. And normally the way that happens is people don't have those resources. They generally don't have these types of resources to do this from person to person, whoever you talk to or meet, giving the common person who is in Kevin Perlman's life the ability, anytime they're not happy, to make up whatever lie or cover up anything they've done to me by telling the world any type of lie they want, libeling, slandering, smearing my name, and launching worldwide murder operations of people in anger and rage to kill me, which is their premeditated motive for what I know, hence exposing what's really going on. There's no such thing. So Brian Weaver was publicly shaming me for him coming after me to eradicate me and kill me, if you understand what's really going on. All the setup and frame job things that Brian Weaver were doing to me, my brother with the knife and all this, all these things being told to the world illegally and in such ways that aren't normally done are all cover-up operations. And normally most people see through that, because normally they get this type of information across news channels, and the guy sitting there going, I just saw myself on the news with blatant lies, now we got to sue them for destroying my life. That's normally how it happens, and then the news is sued, right? Hence why these murder operations were strategically designed to kill me in that way, right? And they're going to spout off that I'm crazy, I suffer from OCD, I suffer from schizophrenia, I'm paranoid, I'm a violent paranoid schizo, I suffer from anxiety, I was born with nervous problems, and I've watched my own family switch from psychological label to psychological label, and I can assure you that they will say whatever it takes to control me, dictate my life, stop me from talking, and in the end try to have me killed with worldwide support. I think that is it. I hope you understand the dynamics, though, that these aren't normal situations. Hence why when I talk about these situations, they go from tangent to tangent, interlinking with person after person, usually strangers I meet in far-off different places, all involved and contacted to stalk and hunt me. So that is why when I talk about these situations, the first method of attack from the psychology community and police is that my mind races and spins and goes from tangent to tangent. It's because all these things are interlinked from tangent to tangent. They're not normal situations. Some guy beats his wife, and I'm not saying I've ever done anything to anyone because I haven't, but let's say some guy hits his wife. That's usually stays within a local community, and he isn't hunted from place to place from stranger after stranger who befriend him, pretend they don't know him, and try to rid him of the world with worldwide resources. So, for example, no matter where I go on the planet, I'll have people befriend me, like one was Tia Mache off the Model Mayhem website, claiming that I'm doing all these things to her, and still start trying to send me hidden messages about, will you buy me a Volkswagen VW, or I want a moped, to hint about their accusations that I've supposedly plowed someone with my car, hence their big thing with mopeds and then parking mopeds in twos in front of my house for years. Nothing is directly said, but once you pick up on the little hidden cryptic messages, it's not the type of situation you can walk up to someone and say, oh, I met some girl and she stole my car, right? That's how it normally works. These are very complex, interwoven situations with worldwide support, billions of people involved, billions of government dollars, and these people have the ability to, for example, when I went out with Tia Miche, not dated, but met up with her, people were contacted citywide told to do all these things to me, right? Well, how do you explain that in one sentence? Hey, Kevin, let's go to this bar. And people are waiting for you at the bar, and more people are showing up at the bar, and they're all working on you with different angles and tactics, trying to get confessions or make you mentally ill, right? That's not a normal situation. Even in the world of gang stalking, which is extremely rare, it's usually with local communities and the police. It is not worldwide. For example, people aren't, you don't drive out to Vegas. You live in California, you drive out to Vegas, someone sees you, picks up their cell phone, texts to 100,000 local people, do these things to one guy, and then person after person befriend him and invest 10 years, 20 years, 30 years trying to rid this person of the world is unheard of. So when I talk about, for example, this insignificant situation with the steak knife at 10 or 12 or whatever, you can see how I moved, before the internet even exists, I moved from California to Southern Oregon State, Ashland, Oregon, town of 5,000, and you can see how instantly the entire city is notified before the internet exists that Kevin Perlman is all these things. Kevin Perlman has done these things. You need to watch Kevin Perlman. You need to get these confessions from Kevin Perlman. We're going to remove Kevin Perlman from society no matter what it takes. Keep befriending him. Keep doing these things to him. And bam, Kevin Perlman starts to find out at 29 something's wrong. You're imagining it. You're crazy. Right? Okay, well first, how could you explain that to someone at 29 when you're starting to find out the unimaginable is happening on situations that are completely unheard of and unprecedented, with a planet full of people trying to kill you with psychological warfare tactics, the police, government, psychology, community, and you're supposed to walk into a police station and somehow explain that in one sentence. You can't. It's impossible. Hence their reasoning. Hence why they wanted to try to flip me out, to get me to run to the police, spouting and babbling gibberish, is because their entire agenda from day one is to try to make me look like a 5150 violent paranoid schizo, to remove me from society or lock me away. And once I start talking about the interwoven events of my brother's threats that he and his friends are going to put me in a mental institution after stopping him from bashing Gregoire's skull in with a crowbar, to younger and younger events, and obviously events afterwards, you really start to understand the situation. But you can't just explain it in a sentence. I guess I'm going to leave this here for now. I'm sure there's a million other things with the steak knife which will come out in other conversations that are linked to other events just like this one, that, like usual, are based on complete thin air, or events that are taken, that are normal growing up events, but they're taken and dramatized and twisted and contorted. Oh, here we have a gray and black with a yellow and black, right? Okay, and there are a couple, of course. We got another behind him. We got I'm on Colorado Street. Behind him here, we got a yellow shirt and the blue jeans. Now remember, and there I think is another gray and black with a hood on. Now remember, I drove by here about 15-20 minutes ago, and it was fairly normal, right? And so now the progression of these people coming out and notified that Kevin is here, they're starting to come out, and if I'm here for about an hour, it'll really probably get bad. And their excuse will be, well, he's here too long, and normal people only drive once down Santa Monica Boulevard, So therefore, he's causing problems or has OCD because he's driven down Santa Monica Boulevard or 4th Street or Colorado more than once, making them do it in order to make me mentally ill, to dictate how many times I drive down a street or things like this. For example, their thing is I'm only allowed to be at a coffee shop for 10 minutes or sit on a park bench at 10 minutes, and it's obviously not literally 10 minutes, but a short time frame like that. And if I'm there for longer than that, people come to make me sick, and then they'll, oh, we have another yellow and black, and so it'll make me sick, and then they'll turn around saying, well, if you don't like coming here, you shouldn't come here, right? To try to make it look like I'm doing something wrong, or by what I'm doing, it's making me sick and it's all my fault, right? If you get the idea, right? Like some form of control. I don't want you putting salt on your food, so I'm going to put arsenic or whatever in your salt, and every time you use the salt, you're going to get sick. And then they're going to say, well, if you don't like salt, don't eat it, because every time you eat salt, it makes you sick. But salt doesn't make you sick untampered with, right? That's the point. Anyways, so I'm going to leave this here. I think this is, I don't even know, this is another long one, maybe 2-3 hours. So, anyways, I hope that you listen to the whole thing and you understand the dynamics of the situation and how these mass worldwide groups operate. Oh, here's another black pants and yellow shirt, right? So I've already rattled off 7 people. I'm guessing about 7 people that came out, probably sitting in bars and in the local area, all coming out to the areas that I drive, waiting for me with the color patterns and notified. And when I made that first lap, they weren't out here, right? This is the second lap, and I've already spouted off in a couple minutes time groups of people which have come out, right? Well, I guarantee you, if I'm here for about an hour, I will literally see hundreds and hundreds of the same color patterns getting larger and larger to create mental illness. Now, the reasoning, it doesn't matter what their reasoning is, because the Constitution of the United States says that I can drive down this street one time or a billion times. Is completely irrelevant, and there should be no reason at all. If they want to say, oh, there's another yellow and black, there should be no reason at all. If I drive down the street one time or a million times, even if they say I have OCD, is irrelevant to the Constitution of the United States and my freedoms. And that is the point that I make on my website with all sorts of things, from driving around with a wig on, like a fro wig on, showing that the government and police are hunting people down based on the you're crazy, and whether Kevin Perlman, me, is crazy or not is irrelevant, because it's not a crime for me to be crazy. And if I am crazy, which we all know I'm not, then that shows the government's predatory behavior even more so. Because what that means is the police are hunting down the weak, right? This person suffers from mental illness, I'm going to hunt them down, stalk them, and kill them because they're crazy or suffer from mental illness, is the type of thing I expose on KevinPerlmanTarget.com after years of being hunted, testing the waters, doing crazy things to expose their reactions, and wearing the wig or some funny hats showed that these worldwide groups with the government went aggro, saying you can't do that. You can't walk down the street with a fro wig or this or that, is unacceptable. But ironically, walking down Hollywood Boulevard with people wearing Power Ranger uniforms and all sorts of funky things, the cops aren't hunting them. But if Kevin Perlman's walking down Hollywood Boulevard with a fro wig, the cops with worldwide groups are hunting Kevin Perlman. Well, what's the difference, right? Everyone's doing the same thing. Except the difference is that the cops with the psychology community are throwing a crazy label, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're crazy or not. There could be a million reasons why someone's walking down Hollywood Boulevard with a wig, and by their actions, they expose their motives that they're discriminating. That while Kevin Perlman is doing nothing different, and I'm really getting weird with these the whole third person thing. Well, I'm doing nothing. I'm doing nothing wrong, but joking around, or if I actually am crazy, it's irrelevant because the amount of people I've seen, like the guy earlier today who's standing in the middle of the street shouting at the other guy's car, the cops don't care about, which is a lot more crazy than a guy walking down Hollywood Boulevard with a fro wig on, right? The cops don't care about that guy, but the cops care about Kevin Perlman. Why is that, right? So all these things are the same. Kevin Perlman goes to a coffee shop. He's doing the same things as everyone at a coffee shop, but Kevin Perlman's not allowed at a coffee shop worldwide, right? Because he's crazy, according to them. Well, and of course these labels change from crazy to this to that to the other thing. But it all comes down to the same thing, discrimination. Well, they might as well say that I'm black and I'm not allowed at coffee shops anymore worldwide. Or they might as well say that I'm Jewish, so I'm not allowed at coffee shops worldwide or at any city worldwide. And I'm not allowed to leave my house either. What's the reasoning? Well, the reasoning sure as hell isn't because Kevin Perlman's crazy. But once again, you can go to KevinPerlmanTarget.com and you can see the photos of me with the wig and the hats, people's reactions, stating that, or people stalking me in the name of, well, he's wearing a fro wig, or he's wearing a British, what's it called? The helmet, a British pith helmet. Right, so Kevin Perlman's crazy, so he needs to be hunted with worldwide support and these government-built terror operations to remove him from society. Doesn't jive with the rest of the world and how the world works, despite what my lying, psychotic, murdering father tries to tell me, that I don't know how the world works, and what's being done to me is different, and it's because, oh, this is the best, it's because Kevin is weird, right? Well, I know I'm about to turn this off, but I just wanted to quickly state that the weird argument, Kevin is weird and that's why he's being hunted by worldwide support. That's one of their scams. Kevin is weird, or disinformation. Well, last I checked, everyone is pretty much weird to everyone else, right? The lawyer will tell you probably that the car mechanic guy is weird and probably doesn't want to have him over for dinner. Maybe the politician will tell you that the artist who creates beautiful paintings or sculptures and hangs out with that like Andy Warhol type of Hollywood crowd is weird, right? Fox News will tell you that liberals are weird, and the liberals will tell you that the conservatives, Republicans are weird, right? But never have I seen a worldwide group hunt down someone because they're weird because they're a Republican. They just say, well, that guy's weird, or I don't understand him, and they move on with their little lives, right? And so the point I'm making, just like all the other things I've just spouted off about discrimination or crazy or you did this or you did that or you're different, all come down to the same exact thing. That I am being stalked and targeted by the stupidest, lamest justifications which change on a daily basis. We don't like his kind. he's weird, he's crazy, are not things that launch worldwide psychological warfare and murder operations to kill people over. The types of things that create situations like mine aren't based on someone's different or weird. They're based on you have information in your brain that we don't want you talking about, which incriminates a lot of people in crimes and horrific crimes. A worldwide murder operation against one man is pretty much the end-all be-all of government operations that they don't want me talking about, that expose NSA operations that Edward Snowden came forward maybe 6 years ago, is what this is really about. Linked with the psychology community, linked with those police scanner recordings I have of them labeling random people as mentally ill and putting them on their little watch lists, and having these investigations based on no crime. For example, people are investigated for things like murder, and generally when you're investigated for murder, there's probable cause, like an actual body with fingerprints and DNA, not telling people that someone killed someone but there's no body. I just think that that guy might have done something wrong, so we have an investigation with billions of dollars, is the crime of all crime, and goes against the entire Constitution of the United States of America, because if this was the case, everyone would be under investigation when someone didn't trust someone, right? You go out and date a girl, and she likes anal sex, and therefore anyone that likes anal sex could be a murderer, so now there's a worldwide investigation, but we haven't proven it yet, so we're just going to kill you, because we think you did it anyways. But yet there's no body, there's no crime, there's no anything, right? Well, I can assure you that generally doesn't happen, is very rare, and when it does, the police are sued, and it is rare that lawyers all get together and say, you can't sue the police, because, like my lawyer, Seymour Amster, said, if the police feel that you did something wrong, they can do anything they want. Wrong. No, they cannot. Hence, the Constitution of the United States, nobody is above the law. The police, politicians, you name it. Well, sure, people might have the power to break the law, which is what's being done to me. That does not mean that they are allowed to. It just means that they are getting away with the crime. And I will leave it at there. I'll leave this at that, and I'm exhausted, and if I was like my family, I would say that you made me be exhausted. Anyways, until next dialogue.